around all my tabs so I can manage my shit a little bit better.
Alright, so believe we're live. YouTube says we're live, so hello! Welcome to the Geekus Theoreticus podcast, the new episode 16. Thank you, Nathan, for the super chat. Thank you. Much appreciated. Say something, damn it. Moraine, welcome as well. Damn it, Nathan. So.
Hey, yes, welcome everyone. And now I have a new microphone, so I shouldn't sound like garbage.
Should sound a lot better. Yes. It's always good to get the full Ludus experience.
Normally you have to pay for that.
What, a nickel?
Oh, actually I made that joke when I was younger. That's the sad part. I made that joke when I was your age. Actually, I made that joke when I was younger than your age.
All right.
Shit. God damn it, you made me feel old.
You're not old. You're like fine wine. You're ripe and tasteful. Well, anyway, a little bit of a slow start here.
Okay, now Ray likes it.
So, first things first thing on the docket to get out of the way today. What happened to the last episode 6? In short,
oh yeah,
it got taken down. Not by me. It wasn't by me. It got reported by someone. I wish YouTube told me so I could do something. But YouTube sent me an email the following day. I woke up thinking the podcast would still be there. I was expecting dislikes or some kind of like swab of like people trying to cancel me or something. I don't know, that or it would just the views would cap off and I'd move on. Instead, I woke up to an email from YouTube saying that I had the video taken down due to terrorism. Or, sorry, promotion of terrorists. Some bullshit like that. And they said, due to this being your first offense, we will not give you an official strike, but a warning. Which was weirded me out, because technically I have received a community strike warning before. So I don't know if that one expired and they sent another warning. I thought the warnings didn't expire. And I'm not complaining about it. I'm happy I didn't get a fucking strike for that, but
I think they do after like 6 months or a year or some stupid shit like that. But
yeah.
But even still, and you said you appealed it, right?
Yeah, I sent an appeal. I haven't heard back.
Okay, because that's something
know what's
that's
going on.
like, if you at least are going to stick by it was promoting terrorism, show me what was promoting terrorism.
That's the thing. There was no things with copyright strikes and stuff like that. They provide you a timestamp for like, okay, this is the content we're talking about. And half the time that's still bullshit, but okay, I at least they have something. In this, for some reason, community guidelines strike, they just send you a fucking email with no details other than you had been reported manually. And this is the reason, and okay. I appealed it, I still haven't heard back.
And that's the thing, it's like, when they get an appeal like that, be like, okay, either fix it if it's not doing what is claimed, or if it is doing what is claimed, show me what it is so I don't keep fucking doing it. That would be my logic anyway.
Yeah, well, YouTube doesn't operate on that. So, yeah.
They don't operate on logic.
Yeah, unfortunately, it is gone. I don't know what's up. Hopefully I'll get some kind of communique back about it, but as far as it's gone so far, the view has, at least with my experience with copyright stuff videos or appealing that stuff, usually they only prioritize dealing with it if it's 1,000 plus views. Since the stream only has 140, something like that, it has some just above 100, just below 100, something like that. They're probably not. If they treat that stuff like the same way they treat copyright infringement, that means they aren't going to prioritize dealing with my appeal until the thing gets 1,000 views, and they blocked it worldwide, so it can't get 1,000 views for them to prioritize it. Yay! So that's what's going on. I didn't private it. I did think about it at one point. I'll admit that. But I was like, nah, I've already privated too many times. We've gone on those political tangents, so I said, fuck it. I'm just gonna leave this one up, and looks like YouTube disagreed. Which annoyed the shit out of me, but oh well. Yeah, so that's just the bad news to start off with. The thing is, even if the appeal does go through in how much ever time, I might leave it private just because the asshole who did this might try again. So I don't know. The thing is, none of my other videos I've gotten reported. It was just that one. It was just the VOD of that stream. So I don't know what pansy ass little shithead reported it, but apparently that was too far. It's stupid. But to avoid that happening again, we're just gonna avoid the same topics until I figure out what the fuck I did wrong. But yeah, it's all a bit of a frustrating mess. I don't want to dwell on it. Hold on. Nameless Scholar, welcome. Garink, welcome. Semet92, welcome. And Calcio, welcome. Welcome to the podcast.
If you want, I can actually talk about my first subject because it's so outlandishly stupid, it might make you laugh.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so my first topic, and this is one where I'm going to talk in a brief overview about comparing universes versus universes, and kind of like the pros and cons of doing it. And Nathan did it again.
Thank you, Nathan, for the suggest. Yeah, he spoke. He'll keep reporting. I'll keep donating. Well, hopefully the former isn't true, but I appreciate the latter.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
thank you.
One of the things that was a criticism by someone who can now no longer comment on my channel was that comparing universes isn't necessarily like they were arguing that comparing universes isn't necessarily fair, but they were arguing it in the inverse, that they believe that StarCraft Marines would be able to like completely stomp a Stardust, and I was kind of dumbfounded by that.
Well, all that tells me is that they are completely inept,
they don't know
and know nothing about 40k.
I was going to say either they know nothing about 40k, or they're too wrapped up in the StarCraft lore that they don't care. So here's something funny that I did not take into consideration when I did my Terran versus Imperium. And I didn't even take this into consideration in my last video, where I put in to make it as even as possible, to literally give StarCraft any advantage that I could think of. I didn't put them up against the whole Imperium. I gave them a small piece of the Imperium, the realms of Ultramar. And it ended up being something like 40 habitable worlds in the Caprulu sector of StarCraft versus the 500 world empire of the Ultramarines. I did make an argument on putting Guilliman in there that he would just decimate everything. But here's something I didn't consider, and that is the battle of the capital ships. So there's a bunch of different estimates for the battle cruisers, but I am going to give them every benefit of the doubt and give them the max number. The low end is they're 1 kilometer long. The high end, which is what I'm going to assume, is they're 9 kilometers long, okay? So that 9 kilometers, that's pretty damn big, right? That's what, almost 2 miles long? No, it's almost 4 miles long. The McCragg's Honor, which is still in service, and it is the capital ship of Guilliman, is 26 kilometers long. It's 3 times the size of the largest estimate of the battle cruisers. It could literally fly into them and not be phased.
Yeah, the thing is, you could pretty much say that specific detail about like pretty much every ship or every pretty much everything in 40k compared to StarCraft. Everything's just bigger, more advanced, more over the top. And what Blizzard did with StarCraft is they took 40k and they watered it down a little bit to make it more, I guess, acceptable or more consumable. Because 40k, with like how big it is, how expansive, how over the top it is, it would probably be harder to sell to someone like the lore through the video game. You know, if you're a fan like us who's like read the books, if you've already, you know, in my case, collected the minis for many years, and you've slowly started to get into it instead of being dropped into it in a game like StarCraft. if they had gone away and made it into a 40K game. Now, do I agree that logic makes sense in the long run? No, because with how many people who've gotten into 40K through Dawn of War 2, like the Space Marine game, you could take pockets of 40K and still sell it. I think that works. But my guess is, on top of like the copyright concern with their deal with Games Workshop breaking down, I think Blizzard just watered everything down because they also feared that, I guess, 40K would be something as big as and expansive as 40K would be too consumable. Too unconsumable because it's just too big. That's my best explanation for why, the Krapulu sector is like a really tiny amount of space compared to anything in 40K in terms of the Imperium.
And that's why I went with Ultramar, because it's like the smallest thing I could think of. Unless I do like a single planet.
It's like the most you could probably do in terms of like really small is taking like a small cluster of planets controlled by a single planetary governor, and maybe there's an active small chapter of Space Marines active in the area. But in terms of actual like dedicated, organized governmental bodies of the Imperium,
there's Ultramar and the Imperium.
There's really Ultramar, the Imperium, and a couple different places. It's it's just not fair to the Krapulu sector and to the Terran Dominion with how small that is by comparison.
Oh yeah, but it's like I put it out there that I set up as like Ultramar versus the entire Krapulu sector, all three races, and it wouldn't matter because at that point you're also, and I think I told you this, I made it where it was. So I went with all the Ultramarine successors, which ended up being like 49 chapters at 75% strength, which ended up being something ridiculous, like 39,000 Astartes. So 39,000 Astartes and approximately 40 planets, that's a chapter per planet. That's a planet for the Imperium. I don't care what you say. Because here's the other thing. Okay, so let's give, because I'm feeling funny right now, let's give the StarCraft 2 Marine the benefit of the doubt and say his funny ass 8mm shooting weapon will easily overpower the Astartes and his 20mm explosive grenade launcher. Let's say hypothetically full auto grenade launcher, but let's say that in the realms of insanity that statement is true. How about a fucking Terminator? Or a Dreadnought, for that matter.
Actually, just for extra credit, I throw in an Aggressor.
An Aggressor. I'm trying to think of which those are. Those are the melee ones.
The Aggressors are, I believe they're still called Aggressors, right? They're the Primaris unit. They're kind of like their answer to Terminators. Kind of.
That would be why I don't know what they are.
Yeah, I'm throwing them in for extra credit.
But I mean, and then you want to talk about mobility. Look at fucking Assault Marines. Look at your,
Welcome, Murderous Kitten. Greetings, 40K versus StarCraft again. Yeah, we're talking, this time it was ships.
Well, no, and this was a specific example of kind of like the pros and cons of doing Universe v. Universe. And it's more of, especially comparing Warcraft to StarCraft. Now, there were some that surprised me. The Zerg ended up beating the Tyranids. The Eldar gave the Protoss a run for their money, but the Imperium just raffle stomped the fuck out of the Terran Dominion. And I even put up the Realms of Ultramar because it was the smallest thing I could think of, the smallest group of planets I could think of against the Krapulu sector, and it was, again, just a raffle stomp. So it's one of those things where evening it out can be really interesting because you are going to handicap one side evening it out. Like in the instance of Ultramar versus the Krapulu sector, you're taking out the rest of the Imperium. You're taking out the Officio Assassinorum, the Adeptus Mechanicus. You're taking out the most of the Imperial Guard. You're taking out a lot of aspects. You're taking out the Sisters of Battle, all of it, just to make it as close to even as you're going to get, and it's still going to stomp the shit out of. So it's like, even the joke is with their eyes poked out and both eyes tied behind their backs, Astartes would still beat the shit out of the Marines from StarCraft 2, apparently.
Any day, I would have to say.
Yeah, they're just too damn big. And they have way too many redundancy systems, so it's less about their equipment at a certain point and more about what's in the armor itself. So it's kind of like you try to even it out so at least it's interesting, so at least it's fair and keeps you guessing. But there are some times when you just can't do that, and that is both a pro and a con, because at least you're keeping it honest. But at the same time, if you have to handicap a group just to be like, I gotta keep this interesting, so I'm gonna cut off their legs. It's kind of like, okay, how?
Well, at that point, it's not even really a debate. It's really just a dick measuring contest where you're intentionally mislabeling the measurement tool.
Pretty much, yeah. We'll compare the inches to the centimeters. Like, okay.
And the number is more important than the actual measurement.
Yeah. It's 30 centimeters to 50, or I don't even know what it would, I don't know what would be a good one. It's like 30 centimeters to 5 inches. I think 30 is bigger than 30 centimeters is longer. So it's like, yeah, but if you turn that into inches, it's only like 20. Like, it doesn't matter. Still 30.
I'm not sure how many centimeters are in a...
I could pull it up. I'm just not going.
But it breaks down the analogy. But yeah, that's so the guy making that argument is just a fanboy who doesn't want to admit he is a fan of a weaker universe.
And, I mean, now to be fair, I'm a fan of both universes. I really am.
I am too, but I'm also willing to admit that, widely speaking, StarCraft is the bitch. If StarCraft was
to 40K,
it's the bitch to 40K. If there were people in a prison, 40K would be that big, giant, buff dude, and StarCraft 2 would be like the skinnier, more lanky. He's got some muscle. You can tell like he can, like someone his size he would win, but there's just a no con.
You got
just no con. Just pull like the 40K pulls out his pocket, says, "Hold my pocket." Because that's what you make a bitch do in prison.
Okay, so here's the problem, Irene. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, and it's something that you commonly say about why the Imperium of Man versus the Flood. This is why I brought it down to the realms of Ultramar.
40K is the booty warrior. Exactly. Booty warrior.
I brought it down to the realms of Ultramar versus the Terran Dominion. And also, they have these things called flamers and meltas. The Flood would be fucked only because they would be incinerated. They would be incinerated a lot more efficiently than in the Halo universe.
Actually, that's the thing. When I think about it, like separate from 40K, it just StarCraft versus Halo. I'd have to give it to StarCraft in that matchup, personally.
Depends on how many Spartans they have.
I would say, based on the number of Spartans, well, Reach was
the more Spartans they have, the better chance they have. But
it also matters which marks Spartan.
Yeah, and realistically, I mean, I agree with you. I think all three factions from StarCraft will be able to fuck up the humans from Halo.
And the thing is, even the Covenant, I don't think would be a match for the Protoss, for example. The Protoss would wipe the Covenant very fast.
Dark Templar are a thing. Dark Templar are a thing. No, they would know.
Dark Templar, not to mention their warp tech is way faster than any of the Covenant tech in terms of just development of defenses and mobility. It's just not a fair contest between that. Now, if it was Zerg V Flood, same argument why I think the Zerg would beat the Tyranids. The Zerg would quickly adapt to the Flood's ability to basically mutate everything. And would start mashing the fuck out of them.
Well, it comes down to, would they be able to out-mutate the ability of the Flood to just take over the Zerg? Because that's the Flood's key right there, is they take over everything. So would they be, it's who would be quicker at that? And that's when I really don't know, and I'd be interested in researching that. But
based
here's
on what I
something
know on
interesting.
both, the Zerg would be able to adapt to it faster than the Flood would be able to infest them. Based on my knowledge.
Sam at 92 said the it's UNSC versus Terran goes to Terran, Covenant versus Protoss goes to Covenant. I don't see that one. I don't think they would really have a counter to most of the Protoss.
I'd say what the Covenant have over the Protoss is numbers.
Yeah, and that's about it.
But that's about it. Their tech, in my opinion, is less advanced than the Protosses. Their personal shielding, at least as I've always seen it, is also weaker. Protoss shielding, for example, if we use the StarCraft Legacy of the Void trailer as an example for like their tech, they can take the explosion of a baneling to their person. Zealots could take a baneling, which is supposed to be the equivalent, like, I don't know, a large C4 charge in front of you of acid. Their shielding can protect them from one blast of that.
But not much more.
Not much more. You throw a grenade at a Covenant shielding, shielding goes away immediately, and depending on if you hit an elite or you hit, let's say, I don't know, a small group of why their name just grunts? Thank you, grunts or jackals. Really, they're dead. Yeah. Like, their shielding's very different, and I'd say weaker than the Protosses. Also, when we see their development tech, Covenant don't have an equivalent to warp tech. Like, Protoss can summon in more, like, quite a few different buildings at once. Like instantaneously. They can set up defenses, shield rechargers. They can drop in zealots once they have the right buildings, which won't take very long once they have the right resources. And just the Protoss' efficiency and the advancement of their warp tech is above anything I've seen the Covenant use.
Okay, so the argument that Sam is putting forward is that their shields recharge much, much faster. Here's my argument. So let's say an elite shields recharge, I don't know, 10 times faster than a zealot's. When the zealot puts a side blade through the head of the elite and it goes right through his shield into his squishy brain, and the elite dies, it's not going to matter how quick his shields recharge. He's going to be dead.
Yep.
That's the problem. It's, can the shields recharge before they're dead? And
not likely.
And I also don't believe at all that their shields are beefier than the Protosses.
No, I don't think so either. And then if you also look at, if we do Energy Sword to the Zealot's Energy Blade, the Zealot's Energy Blade doesn't lose charge. The Energy Sword of the Covenant loses charge. It has a limited number of uses before it's out.
And I pose the question of the Dark Templar.
Stealth. That's a major thing that they have over them. And just generally, I think the Protoss have enough of an edge in pretty much every category to kick the Covenant's ass.
Oh,
the only advantage I'll give the Covenant is numbers.
Yeah, that's about it. And even then, when they have, okay, look, we're swarming them with grunts. Oh, look at the Colossus, the thing that, just incinerates Zerglings like they're nothing. Oh, look, it's doing the same thing to the grunts. Well, shit.
I'd have to give it to the Protoss any day. And if we're talking Covenant v anything else, isn't really Covenant v Zerg, Zerg win.
Hey, Asmagon, I'm sorry to interrupt. Do you mind if I step away for like 1 minute?
No.
Okay, I'm sorry. I will be right back. I just had an unexpected visitor.
That's okay. I will entertain the chat. Yeah, I stand by my point. I think that Protoss would wipe the Covenant, and even then, if we talk Protoss after, I guess it's spoiled for me, after the events of StarCraft 2, where their society is recovering and their numbers are up, any day I'd give it to the Protoss. And you could argue the Covenant would overwhelm the Protoss with numbers, but if we're talking post-StarCraft 2, where their population is on the upswing, I would say that advantage is lost. Pre that advantage still exists. Quality versus quantity. Red Army proved the quantity wins. Not exactly. If the tech is the same and the quality is only slightly better, then yeah, numbers win. But I think the quality of the Protoss's advancements are so higher, so much above that of the Covenant, they would win. Like, the thing is, quality will make up for quantity if it's that much more advanced. Like, any day. If the quality is only slightly better, then yeah, numbers are going to win any day. But that's only if the margin that quality makes up for is so minor. And that would be what you're talking about. The quality was only a little bit better. Not enough to make up for just the fucking tidal wave that they were dealing with. In the case of Protoss v Covenant, the advancements are just way better. Warp tech is just unbeatable against the Covenant and their tech. If the Covenant were able to make an equivalent, I'd say it'd probably be Covenant, because at that point the divide in their tech wouldn't be as large. It's the Spanish Inquisition because nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition to visit. That joke will probably never die, will it? This is green screen looks creepy. Yeah, it's because it got altered. Protoss would win against the Covenant. The Covenant do have some nasty weapons space-wise. Yeah, but the thing is, to glass a planet, the Covenant need 5-6 ships.
If not more.
Yeah, they need a planet basically taking a whole quadrant. And they need a ship, taking a whole quadrant of a planet to properly glass it. Protoss, I'm pretty sure if we take the Spear of a Dune, they could use it. They could do that with the Spear of a Dune. I'm pretty sure. I have to double check the Spear of a Dune specs. So I'm pretty sure they could glass a planet with a lot less.
Telcree asks, are there any combat tactic doctrines you see either of the factions develop to counter their opponent's strength? I don't really think it would matter for the Covenant because they would just get completely overpowered.
Well, the thing is, when I think of the Covenant, they didn't really adapt themselves to dealing with the Spartans very well. They kind of just continued using the same tactics. You could argue they started using more underhanded tactics once the Spartans became an issue, but I would argue that their core doctrines of how they fought didn't change, even when they were dealing with Spartans. So I would say the Covenant are too rigid. The Protoss, again, it would depend. If we're talking pre-Fall of Ire, they were a lot more up their ass. They were a lot more like the Covenant in that regard, more stuck up, more like this is how we deal with things. They were still more adaptive, I would argue, even at that point, but not much so. They did have a way of dealing with things that they thought was right.
Right.
But if we're talking post-Fall of Ire, that's when their adaptability went through the roof, because once you're desperate, that's when you need to be adaptable. You learn to adapt. So post-Fall of Ire, I would say the Protoss would adapt to how the Covenant fight. But there wouldn't be much need to adapt in that regard, because the Covenant rely on numbers, and they also, on top of numbers, they also rely on... Well, they rely on their organization to be consistent, but we've already seen sometimes the number of different races in their lineup actually fight each other or cause things to go kind of awry, like the conflict between the brutes and the elites, for example. Sometimes they compete over kills. There's sometimes a breakdown of the chain of command. So the Protoss don't usually have that with each other, unless we're talking a little bit across. This is pre-Fall of Ire between Dark Templar and the Zealots of Ire. But post-fall, they didn't have the luxury of that, so they worked very well with the Dark Templar.
Yeah, and that's something that I think would matter too, because Jorge says if the elites get overall military authority, then maybe the Covenant can adapt into a proper force against the Protoss. I don't think so, because it just comes down to a matter of power for me. I think that the Protoss can easily overpower the Covenant.
And their tech just makes up for the number loss.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, anyway, that was that discussion. Didn't you have another one? What was your other one?
We could talk about that Vampire Bloodlines 2 is now permanently on ice.
And I can't imagine there's any progress being made on it when you have nobody working on it.
Nah. And honestly, my thought on this one is I'm actually kind of glad for it because I like the original Bloodlines. And from what I know, what's been going on with World of Darkness and some of their choices, I'm okay with them stopping that.
I would definitely rather that they cut their losses than try and give us another piece of bullshit this year. Personally.
Yeah. And then, so that's really all I had to say about that one. And my last one was different content we watch and why, like different YouTubers or Twitch streamers, stuff like that.
Right. Well, I guess you go first, just to kind of show off what you mean.
So Nathan actually.
Thank you for the super chat, Nathan. Thank you. Surprised you didn't speak about the Forerunners.
They don't matter.
Well, they really don't. They're really not a factor in the argument as much. They're not an active body until like what, Halo 4, Halo 5?
I think it's 4.
4. They weren't really at all like the Halo rings were definitely prevalent in obviously the whole franchise named after the fucking things. But in terms of their importance in like the majority of the franchise, honestly, I wouldn't even factor in that, because I was just factoring in the factions in the universe, not necessarily elements of their universe. So if I had to provide the Halos to help in air quotes any of the factions in the Halo universe, I would also have to give the Terrans the Xel'Naga artifacts. Or I'd have to give them their in-universe advantages as well, as opposed to their native advantages or their native abilities, which is what I was focusing on. The Forerunners, in terms of their impact in the active universe of Halo, again, outside of Halo 4 and or 5, I haven't played 5 at all, so I don't know what their impact is on that one, if there is one, is minor. Like, outside of the Halos themselves, they don't directly impact the factions. They play a massive role in the universe, but mainly... Well, yeah, they play a massive role in the story, especially with the Halos in particular. But outside of the conflicts around and for the Halos, what impact do they have on the active conflict, let's say, between the UNSC and the Covenant? The ongoing conflict there?
Not much, honestly.
There's really not much impact.
But like, so talking about like different content creators, and I was thinking like outside of the obvious, kind of like our, maybe not necessarily our guilty pleasures, but like stuff that people wouldn't think we watch. Like, obviously, we probably both watch Arch. I know you said you watch Baltimore.
Yeah, I do. Very entertaining.
I used to watch Tactica Imperialis, but like outside of 40K, I actually watch honestly a specific group of people. And they have a group channel now called The Boys.
Hey, Gavin Isaacs, welcome. The Boys?
And it's and it's 5 different YouTubers. It's Josh Dub, Molly, your narrator, Eddie EVR, and Juicy Fruit Snacks.
I don't know any of those YouTubers. I don't know any of them.
The smallest out of all of them, I think, is your narrator, and I think he has over 1 million subs.
Don't know.
Give me 1 second, I'll tell you for sure.
And the number of YouTubers who have over 1 million subs these days as well, like, you would typically think, like, oh, everyone knows every YouTuber who has 1 million subs, but the thing is, there's a ton of them now. There's a shit ton of YouTubers with over 1 million subs.
Okay, so your narrator is the smallest of the 5, okay? 2.05 million subs. I think Josh Dub is the biggest, and he's at like almost at 10.
Damn. Yeah, I don't know any of them.
And so he's at 8.7 million. So here's how I got introduced into them. I was scrolling through Facebook one day, and I saw a video called what was it? An Australian like plays with guns or something, and it was a VR game where you like reload them and you have a little firing range and all that. And he was doing that, and I just started watching him and got introduced to the other boys slowly. And actually, now my favorite is narrator, but it's just so funny that I got introduced into these 5 YouTubers through Facebook, because Facebook will throw up like, here's a YouTube video you might like. They actually got one right, but hey, but they do stuff like VR horror, which is probably some of their best shit. But the thing is, and why I really like them is kind of the reason like why me and you work really well together, or Kibbs and Bubs, is just that chemistry they have. Like, we play really well off of each other, same way they do.
Nice.
And I think that's real, and that's one of the reasons why I really like them, is because they have that chemistry, and they play off their own jokes really well with each other.
And I would assume so if they have great chemistry.
Oh, yeah. And it also helps that they've known each other. I think Josh, Deb, and Molly have known each other the longest. They've known each other for years. And I think the last one to come in was Juicy, and they've known him for like 1.5 years or 2 years at this point.
Yeah, so they got good camaraderie at least.
Oh, absolutely they do. And now, granted, if you like politically correct humor, don't watch them because you'll get offended easily. But if you don't mind a little bit of...
And does anyone actually enjoy politically correct humor? It's not even humor.
No, it's just
like,
pointing shit out.
The leaves. Aren't they so funny? Ha 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 ha.
The leaves.
Ha.
Aren't they green?
Oh shit, I offended the vegetarians. Cancelled.
Oh shit. But
yeah,
I mean,
watch the same asshole who reported the last episode 16 because of that is gonna be like, he made fun of vegetarians, I'm offended. Report.
Pretty much, yeah.
Fucking jackass. If you watch this, by the way, you're a cunt. Sorry, I wanted to throw that in there.
Oh shit.
Whoever you are, you're a cunt. You're a total cunt for reporting the last video. Just saying. Fuck you.
Oh shit. That made me laugh so hard. I don't know why.
In terms of content creators I watch on the regular, it kind of varies. I have a lot of people depending on my mood, I'll jump around to. Yeah, Zarch, I watch him for his lore videos, not so much for the political ones, sometimes for the gaming news ones. I enjoy sometimes his takes on that stuff. Let's see. Outside of Arch, I occasionally watch Major Kill. I know that, typically if you're a fan of Arch, you're not supposed to be a fan of Major Kill, or likewise, other way around. People typically are like, Major Kill's an asshole.
He is an asshole.
He is, but he's an honest asshole. Like, I've never seen Major Kill pretend to be the nice guy. He's honest, so I can respect him for that, and he's entertaining. I leave it at that. Like, I'm not... the thing is, if I judged people based on how, their opinions or attitudes towards things, that wouldn't make me any better than the SJWs who cancel people on fucking Twitter. So, though I disagree with Major Kill about Arch, I disagree with him about other things, generally speaking, he's a very entertaining creator. I don't watch him regularly anymore. It's been a while, but that's not really because I've lost taste for his content as much as it is I'm busy. These days I listen to more audiobooks than I usually can creators. Unfortunately. So, it's just because I'm so busy. Outside of the 40K realm, like I said, I listen to Voldemort every time I upload something. That voice, love it. Let's see. Outside of the 40K realm, MXR on a rare occasion. I'll check out one of those. One of his videos, some Skyrim mods. I know he does a series of videos where he looks at memes and shit on his Reddit with his girlfriend. What's her name? Her.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about. Damn it, Jeannie.
Yeah. Jeannie. Yeah. I've watched one or two of those. They're pretty funny, but they're also kind of formulaic almost. I'm not saying they repeat themselves or it's scripted. It's just there's not a huge variety in how the video is structured between them, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I mostly just check out his MXR mods videos. That's what I got into him for. Let's see.
So,
trying to think of
I used to watch him, but my favorite videos were the ones where he would do like the Skyrim and Fallout cooking episodes. I love those, but it's kind of like he doesn't do those anymore, so I just kind of lost interest.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've had the opportunity to watch an MXR. One of his he had a recent mod video that caught my eye for the obvious reasons. But outside that,
Yeah.
it's been a while since I've like looked for his videos. Genie. Oh, apparently. Wait, is it spelled with a G, or with a J?
With a J.
Okay, so because I'm seeing Genie, and I'm seeing Genie, and I'm seeing Panda Crusaders.
Yes, there are Panda Crusaders.
Yeah, I know that's a meme. I've seen that before. I didn't know it was MXR though. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Nameless Ghost says, last I heard, Major Kill said he doesn't like Arch, but he doesn't think he is an evil person or a Nazi. His words. And yeah, see, at least
I don't believe that for a fucking second.
You don't believe he said that, or you don't believe he?
I don't believe he meant it. I believe he said it. I don't believe he meant it.
Yeah, I haven't.
Because there's other shit he said completely contrary to that. So.
Yeah, like I said, Major Kill can be a dick sometimes, but as an entertainer, I think he succeeds.
And that's fair. And those are two different things. And normally
I'm not gonna.
I like to delude myself into saying normally I'm good about separating that, but in his case, there's some shit he said. I'm just like, I don't even want to hear your fucking voice now.
I'm able to do it most of the time. There are the occasional episodes that are a little annoying, but yeah, more or less I'm able to move past it. As a kitten is trolling, it's Genie. Okay. Alright, so other than that, the only other content creator I would mention that I watch on the regular now is it's kind of like you with the boys. The Adeptus Ridiculous podcast. They actually uploaded another video today. I enjoy the personality of Bricky. I enjoy Shy and DK Diamantes as well. They're all a good bunch, and they play off each other well, I think.
Yeah, and I checked out their I think it was their Orc one. Yeah. Because that's the one where they first use your intro. But I haven't watched any more since then, mostly because I just don't have time.
Yeah, they did a Lamenters episode last week, and this week they did Death Guard.
Everyone does. Everyone feels so sorry for the Lamenters.
Well,
the Lamenters
have the no one else has been as butt fucked by Zinch as them, so.
The poor Lamenters. No one's had the shittiest history in 40k outside of the Lamenters.
It's like our only friends turned out to be chaotic traitors. And because we sided with them because they tricked us, we got sent on a 100-year penance crusade where we nearly got wiped out. At the very end of it, we lost pretty much everybody to a hive fleet.
Yeah.
That's only a fraction of the bullshit they've experienced.
The Lamenters versus other universes. Is this with or without their disadvantage of luck?
Yeah. So I can imagine a Lamenter player on the tabletop rolling for let's say rolling to hit and getting ones. It's like 1, 1, and the one time they get a 6 is when they're looking for a 1. So they like, okay, come on, I need a 1, 6. Fuck.
This is gonna hurt.
It's just, my god, that would be hilarious if someone played a game like that. Epic Fail Guy, welcome. Major Kill is a legitimate simp. He's an embarrassment to Katachan. Is he a fan of Katachan? If so, I didn't know that, actually. Weirdly enough.
I get why. It's because it's essentially Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger in an entire Imperial Guard regiment of them.
Pretty much cloned.
Yeah.
Hey, Maximilian Fontaine, welcome.
And I think
goes over all my content creators.
And I think that's actually a good way to segue into your first topic, which is, other than 40k, what are our favorite sci-fi universes?
Yes. We might have done this before, like briefly in a previous episode, but this is more dedicated. In terms of other universes, I'm gonna have to say that this for different reasons. I enjoy the hell out of Star Trek, pre-STD and pre-JJ Abrams bullshit, and the lens flares and crap. The 90s shows, even the original series, I fucking love Star Trek. It's not as over the top as 40K by any means, but the charm of Star Trek, in my opinion, the purest of it was through the 90s. You had TNG, you had Deep Space Nine, you had Voyager, and then in the early 2000s you had Enterprise, which, in my opinion, people gave Enterprise way too much shit. It was a good show. People were being way too. It was a show that took place well before Starfleet had any of the fucking advanced technology they did. So yeah, no shit. It's not gonna be as sci-fi as the rest. It would have looked dumb if it was. It's like, oh, so they've been this advanced the entire time. It would feel like the Starfleet stagnated. It's like, oh, they've always had this fucking over-the-top technology. I liked Enterprise, and I think people gave it way too much shit, and it got canceled for no good reason, in my opinion.
So, outside of 40K, I do like Star Trek. I like the original series and the Next Generation. I have not watched anything outside the other two, or outside of those two.
I recommend Stargate. I actually just started getting back into it. I kind of explained this to two of my friends on my Discord channel, Dragonis and Ball. I grew up at the same time I was growing up with my dad, who had the entire original series on DVD. He was rewatching, and I rewatched it with him as a kid, and I was like 6 or 7. And when I was watching it with him, I also started watching on TV Stargate Atlantis. It was reruns of Stargate Atlantis, as I recall, and I watched a good chunk of that show. Now, I don't remember any specific stories of either. Like, I remember the 4 episodes of the original series of Star Trek survived my 7-year-old brain. Only the characters of Stargate Atlantis survived my 7-year-old brain. I only remember the characters. I don't remember any of the adventures they went on, which made me like them so much.
Right.
But I'm actually rewatching Stargate SG-1 now, and I intend to hop on to Stargate Atlantis as soon as I make it to the season where that spin-off started.
So like I said, for me, it would be down to the original Star Trek and the Next Generation. Not really a fan of Star Wars, honestly, but outside that, it would probably be StarCraft, and that'd be about it.
Let's see. What about Massive?
I grew up with StarCraft.
Yeah, I played StarCraft 2 as well. I got more into it when StarCraft 2 came out, because when StarCraft 2 came out, I played StarCraft 1 when I was a little bit older and got more into the lore. I'm kind of sad that the feeling, because StarCraft 1, the 40K vibe was more there. The music was a little bit more gritty. It felt darker. It actually kind of felt more like 40K, honestly. It was it was grim and dark almost, especially with the storylines and the way characters talk to each other. It felt more. Even the campaign interim ones where you the commander were talking to Minsk or fucking Raynor and the other characters. Even the music and the way everything was shown, it felt like if there was just a slight bit of art change, it would be 40K. The music was ominous. The events, the color tones were all dark, gritty, and kind of almost decaying. Honestly, StarCraft, the first StarCraft, wore its influences on its shoulders. And if I had been a fan of 40K back when I first played it, would not have caught that. It would have just felt like a dark game. But now that I'm older and I replayed it when I was playing first got into StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty, I gotta say, damn. It's oh my god, they didn't make too much of a leap from their inspiration. Oh, it looks like Ludus is occupied. Other than that, I would say Star Wars. I'm a fan of Star Wars. I like Star Wars. I don't love Star Wars. I adore certain stories of Star Wars. I adored the EU a shit ton, and I certainly love the original trilogy, and I love the prequels, but I don't after the Disney crap, after the EU being demolished, because the thing is, you got a good chunk of my love for Star Wars really grew because of The Force Unleashed because The Force Unleashed, Force Unleashed 2, that storyline was interesting and got me more into it. Plus the video game, more interactive. On top of that, several other video games, kind of KOTOR, KOTOR 2. All of those expanded universe stuff of Star Wars made my love for it like skyrocket. The moment all of that was said to be gone, that you take a huge chunk of my adoration and love for the universe completely out. Like, at that point, there's nothing left. The mouse just said skulls. The mouse, what? Oh, the mouse isn't Disney, yeah. Like, once you cut out all that expanded universe, like, attained love and affection for the universe, all I had left was the movies and the cartoon to go off of. That's not enough, because as much as I loved the original trilogy, as much as I enjoyed the prequels, and loved the Clone Wars cartoon, those shows and those movies didn't skyrocket my love as much as playing the video games of Star Wars. So the moment those were said to be gone, you lost me. Like, that's when my love of Star Wars kind of died. My love was gone. I still liked it. I still appreciated it. But my love was dead. Like, what made me adore the universe is died with the EU being demolished. Because that was such a source of affection for me. So I'm going to read through the chat real quick. I don't know how long Lotus is going to be gone, so... Oh, there he is. Right on cue. Just finished Season 1 of DS9. Nice, I'm at 92. Yeah, if you didn't like Season 1, don't worry. It gets... Like with all the Star Treks, it really finds its footing around Season 2 or 3.
Which Star Trek is this? The original or Next Generation?
Deep Space Nine. The original, if you're someone like me if you grew up 80s plus, like if you were growing up in the 80s, the 90s, or the early 2000s, watching the campy 60s show, I loved it as a kid, because for me it was almost like a cartoon. But I could not sit through watching the original series of Star Trek ever again. I don't think I could. Maybe for nostalgia points with my dad. But me alone, not happening. I'm sorry. It's too campy.
Is what makes it so good.
It's hilarious. The Gorn fight between Kirk and the guy in the Godzilla outfit. It's fucking hilarious. It's fucking hilarious. Oh, God. But I can't watch it by myself with the same amount of enjoyment as I would like sitting down and watching it with my dad.
Well, I don't think it's meant to be the same kind of enjoyment, because it was also made in the 60s. So it was made for a different time. But I think now that you know, it's one of the things for us where we can go back and watch it. It'd be like, you know, I kind of like that, but now I like it for a different reason. Like the Gorn fight, if you watched it when you were like 4 or 5, like I liked it because Captain Kirk looked like a hero. Now you watch it and I like it because that looks like shit.
It's hilarious. Oh, look, that obviously styrofoam rock heaved through.
Yeah, oh. Right. That rock right on that hard styrofoam. Oh my god.
Oh god. I fucking love it. Punishment 90, welcome to the podcast. Hey guys, if you like OG Star Wars, please check out the Galaxy's Edge novel series by Jason Anspec and Nick Cole. It's like Star Wars with balls, based around more around military sci-fi. Kind of a random advertisement. I don't think I've read Galaxy's Edge novel series.
I know I haven't.
I'm not really advertising. It's just a really good novel series that I recently got into. No. It's literally just a recommendation. Well, the only reason I call it an advertisement is the way you phrased it. Hey, tell me you don't hear this on a commercial. Hey guys, if you like original Star Wars, well please check out Galaxy's Edge novel series, only $19.95. I say $19.95. Series by Jason Ansbeck and Nick Cole. Nick Cole. It's like Star Wars with balls, based around the military sci-fi. With balls.
I am now going to find something for you. So, we were talking earlier about the YouTuber saying I was telling you I watched The Boys. They do an episode with for your narrator where he literally narrates the internet, and it's a bunch of like infomercials. Oh my god, you need to see this now that you've made that joke.
Oh god.
You know, oh, who's the guy who took over for so you know that like that really famous info salesman, I can't think of his name, but he passed away, and then like they got that younger guy in, his name is Vince or some shit. One of them is one of his commercials. And he has like this spraying cleaning agent, and he goes to spray it like this, and your narrator just goes, ha 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 ha, miss.
Feel free to just DM it to me. I'll check that out.
I did DM
oh,
it
yeah,
to
I see it. Dabblage.
It is so damn funny. They do one at the end for this pancake looking thing, and him and Juicy both co-narrate it. And first off, none of them or narrator has not seen any of the things before they give him narrate, so it's all ad-libbed. And the pancake thing is a pan that closes and you flip it over so it cooks both sides. And him and Juicy are narrating it, and they have like these different types of like cookie cutters for the pancakes. One of them's Hearts, like, Hearts, you know you're fucking lonely if you're buying this.
Yeah, I'll definitely check that out. That sounds funny.
It is funny. I might get you into The Boys with this, but
possibly.
But yeah,
I'm expecting good things. I'm expecting good things. Well, yeah. Punchman, don't worry, Punchman. I don't think you're actually like a bot advertising. It's funny how that read. So I can kind of see why it looks like an advertisement.
What I need.
Let's see. So the connecting topic I had to like our favorite sci-fi universes is kind of doing like a comparison, not necessarily like a versus, but like comparing two of them with each other, and like what you like about one, which you like more in the other, like things like that.
So for me, so if I compare the three that I gave, which is Star Trek, StarCraft, and 40K, the problem is, so comparing Star Trek to 40K, I like Star Trek because of the campiness. And I can't really compare that to 40K. It's just I like it for a different reason. Now with StarCraft, I like that because it's dark and gritty like 40K. But the thing is with 40K, what I really love about it is the lore. It's why I make lore videos. But so with StarCraft, I don't really have anything like that to really sink my teeth into. But the lore that you do get from the games is kind of nice until they do some of the stupid shit at the end of StarCraft 2 that they do for kind of like, we wrote ourselves into a corner. Now we're going to write ourselves out no matter how shitty it is. And they do that sometimes in 40K, but with 40K, like one of the best things I have to really put why I love 40K is you have the Primarch, who are superhumans, because they're superhuman to the Astarte. But they have these massive flaws. You know, Fulgrim has his, pride and arrogance. Mortarion can take a shower every once in a while. Magnus has his arrogance. Horus has his daddy issues and abandonment issues. So, they all have these massive flaws. Angron has, he has problems going to sleep at night and needs some fucking chamomile tea. I mean, fuck that. No, he has anger issues. So, made myself laugh and I'm going to kill myself. So
don't die. No, don't leave me alone.
So, but I mean, it's like, it's the things where they have these, like, gods compared to humans, but they have these massive flaws that in those flaws makes them human.
Yeah.
And it's really good writing. It's just, if they could make the writing consistent, that would make it so much better. But the writing, how they write some of the characters is absolutely wonderful. I mean, you have that in some of the StarCraft lore. Like, so for instance, one of my favorite arcs is the redeemable or redeemed villain, or kind of the hero who does everything. Like, a good example of this is Arthas. The hero who does everything, no matter how bad it is, to try and save innocent people. And ends up falling because of it. Again, Arthas is a great example of this. Does everything he can to save his people, including fucking killing them. So, it's one of those things where I love those kinds of arcs. And I will say Arthas is probably my favorite arc of that type. But you have the arc of Kerrigan, who gets betrayed, turned into a monster, turned out of a monster, turns herself back into a monster, and then Ooga Booga bullshit saves everyone. Because that's all I can really fucking call it at that point is Ooga Booga bullshit. We didn't know how to write ourselves out of a corner.
Yeah, I haven't played through that end of Legacy of the Void yet, so I don't know what it looks like. I have like a picture in my head of what I think they're gonna do with that.
It's. I can promise you now, if you thought it was going to live up to your expectations, I'm sorry, it's not.
Yeah.
But it's not as disappointing as Mass Effect 3's ending, but it's like they're like, that's a good example of an ending, but we can do better. And they actually do better than it. But that was kind of like the template they used of how to piss off fans.
Yeah.
I love what my friend told me before I played Mass Effect 3. He's like, as soon as you see the light come down over Shepard's body, just turn off the console. And I was like, I don't even know what the fuck that means. He's like, trust me, you'll know when you get there. But no, so in all seriousness, the ending for StarCraft could have been a lot worse, and I do see it for what I assume it was. They wrote themselves into a corner. And they had this big, all-encompassing enemy. It was like, how do we kill a god? Ooga booga bullshit magic. Okay, who put crack in Jerry's coffee? Anyone? Who's going to take responsibility for this shit?
Yeah,
it's our only idea.
Then the attendant comes in and goes, he's like, all right, we got to completely rewrite the story. Then the board of directors hops in and goes, hey, are you guys done yet? Because you got 5 hours. We need you to do your last touch-ups now. Slams the door. Well, Jerry, here's some more crack. Can you explain that ending again?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I have a picture of what it's going to look like in my head. Don't tell me if I'm correct, right? So I have a picture that she, like, when she's revealed to be the savior, right? She, my guess is physically she doesn't change, but she's, like, just more powerful. Like, all of a sudden, like, she has a lot more power.
Do you want me to tell you, or
don't? I will eventually play through it. It's just, now that I know how it ends, I need to, like, prepare myself. But my prediction is she's gonna get some kind of arbitrary power up that she gets, and she goes into the realm of Amon, fights him 1-on-1, and kicks his ass.
Okay,
and then the game ends with all like good and pretty and yay shit.
I am going to spoil one thing because you were wrong on one thing, but this will actually increase your expectations because this is something they do right. She doesn't just go into the realm of Amon, like the remaining forces of the Terrans, Zerg, and Protoss.
Okay, good. I'm happy. I was worried they were just gonna send her shit in.
No.
Piss me off. So, it's like, 3 campaigns playing all 3 races. We're gonna end off with her, and I'm assuming Zerg.
So the Epilogue Campaign is 3 missions, one where you play each race, but it is in Amon's realm. And it's kind of like you're fighting your way to get to the final confrontation with Amon. And that they actually do really well. I will give them credit on that. They do that part really well. It's just, again, they kind of wrote themselves into a corner of how to kill essentially a god. And like, well, we can't do this because it's a god, so what would be the best way to do it? And they end up not doing the worst job they could, but doing a stereotypically bad job. It's kind of like the bullshit of like, how does one kill Superman? Here's a little green rock.
Okay.
I mean, really, let's talk about stupid shit in storytelling. How are we going to fuck up the Man of Steel, a little green rock? Why?
And
Reasons.
that's not the stupidest thing they've done with the Man of Steel. I mean, come on, his disguise is glasses and a suit.
I know, but I mean, so and this kind of goes to my argument. Like, there was a lot worse they could have done with StarCraft 2. I mean, there was a lot worse they could have done, but I do think they did the lead up really well. It's just because they did the lead up so well, when they do pull that, here's the bullshit Ooga Booga Magic card, that they just kind of in a way, it kind of left you wanting more, but not in a good way. Like, you'll get that ending that leaves you wanting so much more in like that way. Like, oh, I can't wait for the next one, even though I know there's not going to be a next one, but I can't wait for that next one, see what happens. But there's in the bad way where it's kind of like, damn, I just kind of wish there was a little bit more to it.
Yeah. Merskin says, no, that's not what's going to happen. She turns Super Saiyan? What?
Ignore that.
Assuming there's spoilers
that's a really, really damn dumb way to explain it, and that's not really what happens. She doesn't go Super Saiyan. And I say that also out of hatred for the fucking Dragon Ball series, because I think that
I enjoy Dragon Ball, so...
But that's still a fucking stupid comparison. I'm sorry. I'm not saying you're stupid. I just don't like the comparison for saying she goes Super Saiyan, because that's not it. It's like saying there's like deeper Zerg power. That's the heart of the Swarm campaign, kind of. If you want to say she went Super Saiyan at any time. Instead of being the Queen of Blades, she's the primal Queen of Blades. There's your Super Saiyan moment right there.
And I guess. By the way, was I the only one disappointed that she came out basically looking like the Queen of Blades again? Like, I don't know. For some reason, I kind of wanted her to look different.
What? Well, she did, but she had purple eyes. That makes all the difference.
Pretty sure she had purple eyes before, didn't she?
Orange.
Huh.
And that was to kind of signify the difference between being part of the Swarm and being a primal Zerg.
Hey, that's kind of such a little shitty difference.
It's such a... Yeah.
It's like, oh, eye color's different. Oh, so it's an anime.
Pretty much.
If it's not the hair, it's the eyes. That's okay. Gotcha. But yeah, off that. So you did your universes. Compare my two. My two universes would probably be. I'd probably compare. I'll compare Star Trek and Stargate. The Stargate series.
Yeah, that'd be fair.
Yeah, with Stargate, what I enjoy about Stargate, especially as I'm rewatching it, is, and the thing is, I think it's best to watch Stargate after you've watched series like Star Trek, Star Wars, universes that take place significantly in our future where everything's just, the technology is just completely different from where we're at.
Right.
And once you watch something like Stargate, which is still sci-fi, but it takes place in the modern day, and with the advancement technology aspects is, it's humanity at our current level of technological ability trying to face off and survive against a galaxy where our only ability to fight back and our only ability to defend ourselves is to use an ancient alien technology called a Stargate, which allows you to travel between planets who also have a Stargate to find and develop new technologies to defend yourselves against an enemy race known as the Goa'uld, which are little parasitic. The thing is, I would make the argument that I think the Goa'uld are actually kind of scarier than facehuggers, for example, because they don't need to go through your mouth. They can just go through your back, your chest, up your anus. Like, they just need any entry point and they can make one because they got little crazy little fucking teeth. And once they get in you, they can't be taken out. Once they meld with you, which only takes a couple seconds, you're a sleeve for them to control. And each one of them has the same amount of intelligence as the others. They all have the same level of intelligence. So I think just the Goa'uld as a concept are scarier.
Right.
Because instead of killing you outright, or instead of latching on and killing you like a xenomorph or the facehugger, it's far more terrifying. Because once the Goa'uld gets in you, you're gone. Like, you're in the back of your own head watching as the Goa'uld uses your body as a sleeve to kill shit. It's kind of like the same like concept of like why the Borg are kind of scary in Star Trek. The Borg, once they bring you into the hive and turn you into a drone, you're just that. You're an automaton used for the sake of the hive.
And I like how they did that, because where they had Picard be part of the Borg and then they brought him back and they showed like kind of what he went through coming out of that. That was really well done.
Stargate is technically in the past, at least the late 80s and 90s. Well, when it aired, it was coming out with the modern level of technology at the time. So that's, again, still the concept being produced. Now it's in the past, technically, because it's an older series, but that's not because the series was based in our past. It was based, technically, at the time, in the present. If that makes sense. It's all timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly shit. But I think I like Stargate because of that element. I love Stargate because we're up against so many threats and so many things more powerful than ourselves, and just if it weren't for our adaptability, our strength of character and will, and our and the friends that we make of more advanced races, we'd be fucked. Have a good one, Gavin Isaacs. Thank you for joining the podcast and the stream, man. Have a good one. But I think that with Stargate, it's kind of like the lack of advanced technology and the underdog feeling of the SG-1, the SG teams and the SGC. That aspect makes me like Stargate for what it is so much more than I would say I like, for example, Star Trek. Any of the Star Treks. As much as I love Star Trek as a franchise, technically more, because I have a lot more personal connection to it, I think I like Stargate more because it's not this big, like, humans are really advanced in a galaxy where we may not necessarily be on equal footing, but we're on a measurable footing with every threat out there. We're at a point where we have the means to, if we're less advanced than a species, we have the ways to adapt to become as advanced or more so, with like Star Trek. In the case of Stargate, it's more believable when we lose, I guess I would say. Like, because it's like our tech is so much less advanced, we're outnumbered, we're outgunned, and if it weren't for the friendships that we'd made, and if it weren't for just making the right moves at the right time, we'd be fucked 1,000 times over. I just enjoy that feeling in Stargate a lot more.
Yeah.
But to give Star Trek its kind of in the limelight, Star Trek is like the opposite end of the angle. Like, I like the feeling that humanity has advanced to a point where we're not necessarily the underdog in any particular altercation. In fact, most of the time we have a pretty sizable footing against everything else in the galaxy. With the occasional exception for like the Borg and the Dominion and things like that do have an advancement. But even then, we still have the capability to face them on the battlefield.
I will say what I kind of like about Star Trek is the idea that they believe that humanity has come so far as a race that they do everything in their power to do everything in a non-aggressive way.
Yeah.
They openly try to avoid war as much as they can because they believe war is beneath them. And I like that idea because it's kind of like, okay, we have evolved past the need for war. Okay, that's fine and cool, but it shows like this at certain points when they do,
past the need for currency, past the need for borders and all those. It's a very idealistic view of the future and for humanity. And that's why, I think that's why most Trekkie fans are a fan of it. I mean, before Star Trek, in terms of sci-fi was actually pretty minimal in existence before Star Trek. Star Trek was one of the bigger sci-fi pioneers in terms of like mainstream influence for sci-fi. But typically, if we look at like old school sci-fi, like old graphic novels and old school ideas of like scientific futures, typically they were dystopian. Typically, like, advanced human technology had advanced to a point where, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Orwell's 1984 written before Star Trek came out?
I don't know.
Wouldn't that be? I know that's more dystopian than it is sci-fi, but wouldn't that have a sci-fi element at the time? Hold on, let me double check. I could be wrong.
I'm looking.
Orwell's.
It was published in 1984. It was published on 8th of June, 1949. So, yeah, that'd been way before Star Trek.
Yeah, I think that would count as sci-fi to a degree because it's like far future. Like, I believe in the book it also has advanced technologies and descriptions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, typically, using that as an example, it's a dystopian sci-fi. Yeah, thank you. Typically, the view of like a scientific fictional future of anything was typically dystopian, was typically darker. Not always, of course. There's always positive and negatives of like every like genre. But I think typically before Star Trek, it was in any form sci-fi. Humans were either the underdogs, we were either the weakest, or we were flawed heavily. But because of Gene Roddenberry's personal views on the world, I don't know if you know what this is. He was a humanist. I know it's when I first heard the term humanist, like the thing that came to mind was like he believes humanity is humans. But a humanist is somebody who believes, and I believe there's another term for it now. I think that humanist is just how I remember it. It's the belief that humanity, basically it's a religious belief as well. Because typically people who are humanists don't believe in God. They don't believe in any kind of religion. They are atheists in essence. They kind of like the Emperor. The Emperor in 40K, he would be a humanist because he believes humanity is the peak of creation. Humanity defines their own fate. We forge and create our own path forward, and we simply need to see it and simply need to find our way to it. That's like humanism. It's the belief that we are the peak and we must continue to perform and treat ourselves as the peak of creation and continue to advance ourselves. In essence, it's not a bad political, technically speaking, view of the world. It's the idea that despite all our flaws, we will eventually move past them and we will be the peak of creation. General idea of humanism. And because of that belief of the world and belief of humanity, he had that essence in the series. Now, when he was, with Star Trek the original series, you don't see it as much. He tries to sneak bits and pieces, but at the time, you need to make a show with conflict, and with a perfect race like humanity, you can't exactly have conflict. Where he let that belief go a little bit. He let that go a little bit in the original series, but you really see his shoehorning in of that like humanism beliefs and stuff in the first 3 seasons of TNG, because he had a lot more influence on the early seasons of that, and that's why some of the episodes, like the Q episodes, for example, that was basically Gene Roddenberry challenging God, oh, humanity, we've evolved to a point where you're nothing to us. Basically, that's what he was trying to show off with Picard and Q's initial issues with one another.
Which I think that was the very first episode too. Yeah. So.
He jumped right in with because with the original series, he was a new production lead. This was his first series. He hadn't made a name for himself, so he didn't have the room to take risks and really push his beliefs to the forefront of the writing. So with the original series, you don't see the humanism affecting it as much. Not even in the movies, but it's still there at certain elements in the basic background of stuff. But he really started shoving it in TNG the first 3 seasons. And it's just. Oh, did you just do a flip?
I did.
Why?
Because.
Am I boring you?
No, I have to. No, you're not. This was something I've been thinking of for a while. I just thought it would be funny. I'm fixing it now.
Okay.
You're not. No, you're not boring me. It's just something I was like, this would be funny to do just to see how many people notice.
I'm watching you, so I noticed.
No, I wasn't doing that because you were boring me. No, I'm actually. I do agree with you, and I think the humanist part is interesting, especially seeing how Gene Roddenberry did that in the first, I would say, season-ish, because you not only have that episode with Q, but you also have the episode later with Riker, where him and the landing party go down to the planet with the Ferengi, and then they had to do a and they had to convince that power not to let their ships just completely drain of energy and kill everyone. And he ended up using a saying from Sun Tzu, and I thought that was really interesting. And I think that also kind of shows that humanist aspect as well.
Yeah, you see it in definitely the earliest seasons of TNG, and I enjoy it when it's not too like. The thing is, for a show to progress, you do need conflict. You need the characters to be flawed. That way, they have flaws to overcome. And I think that was like the issue with with Gene's push for that stuff in TNG.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is really when he passed, which I believe was just before season 3 aired. Because his writings weren't influencing the show anymore, or at least towards the end they weren't anyway. Like they were kind of, like his health was on the decline, as I recall. So other writers were already taking over. And
I think it was at the end of season 4. Question mark.
I know for a fact that most people say they felt the upswing of the series was season 4 and on. That's when Gene's writings were used less and less. And again, his decision to push the arguments of like why humanity's the peak over like intensive character driven stories with characters with flaws and issues. Like he's
my god,
that wasn't it. What?
No, sorry, I just looked it up because I wanted to make sure. Do you remember in The Next Generation the Admiral who always played buddy with Picard?
There's a couple different admirals he was kind of buddy with.
I'll send you a picture then if I can find. There he is.
Okay.
Because he's in a few different episodes. He comes in there under the pretense that the Enterprise is under a surprise inspection, but he's actually trying to recruit Picard because he believes Picard is like non-corruptible because Picard was written that way.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Him. That's Gene Roddenberry.
Yes, I yeah, the thing is, Gene Roddenberry kind of pulled the Stanley with that stuff. Well, I guess technically he did it first. Technically. So I guess you could say all this time Stanley's been pulling a Roddenberry. Actually, no, because I'm pretty sure directors and producers as far as I can remember, many of them have starred in their, well, not starred, but like appeared in their own works before. Either because for example, in Pulp Fiction, the director, if I recall correctly, he filled in for an actor who had failed to show up for shooting one day. So he filled in as a character in one of the scenes, I believe, in Pulp Fiction. So, like sometimes it's cases like that where it's not really their choice; it's just because they're trying to make up for like issues or something like that. So I guess it would really come down to Stan Lee did it in the sense that he did it so often that it became like associated with him. But to circle back all the way around to my point of like what I like about TNG is it's kind of the opposite end of the spectrum of Stargate. It's the optimistic, optimum idea of humanity and how we handle things and how our technology is advanced and we're not the underdogs. It's kind of why I like 40. On that same note, I kind of like 40K for those same elements. Like humanity, we're not the underdogs necessarily. Like everybody kind of has a shittiness, and we're underdogs at certain aspects, especially post Fall of Cadia. But generally speaking, the Imperium are actually a quite sizable threat. I'd say that Star Trek and 40K have like that same element of humanity is not the weakest race by any stretch. Like we're not at the bottom of the totem pole. But I think it's like the two halves of the coin. Like Star Trek is like the humanist, optimum view of humanity. 40K is like we advance beyond our means and like it's dystopian in many ways. So it's the same idea, but like the yin and yang of it.
Would you like to hear something that'll make you feel warm inside?
What kind of warm?
In 1992, some of Roddenberry's ashes were flown into space and returned to Earth.
That kind of warm.
That is cool, though. On April 21st, another spacecraft with some of the cremated remains of Roddenberry, along with Timothy Leary, Jared K. O'Neill, and 21 other people, was launched. However, and it was put in Earth's orbit. However, on May 20th, 2002, the orbit deteriorated and disintegrated in the atmosphere. They are planning another one. It's also to include the ashes of Barrett, who I believe was his wife? ?
I know Gene Roddenberry's wife played the mother of Deanna Troi, and she was the voice. I believe that's her anyway, and she's the voice of all of the ships.
Yeah, it was his. It was his wife. Yeah, his wife, and the other and they were include another person's ashes in that, and I have to go back down to his name because I am bad at remembering names. James Doohan, which is the original Scotty. And this one is supposed to be launched into deep space and not be able to return to Earth's atmosphere. However, it was scheduled to fly in 2016, but was canceled in 2014. And right now, they don't know if another mission is being planned. I hope they do, because that would be absolutely fucking awesome. But yes, it would be the ashes of Roddenberry, his wife, and of Scotty. So that would be an amazing thing for them to do. Anyone who's watching this who can make that happen, make that happen.
If they're watching.
Yeah, we need something good to happen right now in our timeline. Make that happen. That's the warm and fuzzy shit we need.
It's kind of a morbidly good thing, though, isn't it?
Well, I mean, think about it. The guy who came up with Star Trek, which influenced how many sci-fi universes?
If it was the real world, like...
Yeah. So, I mean,
tell me, you look at the 60s communicators and look at flip phones. Tell me, do you think the first inventor of the flip phone was by chance influenced by anything?
But I mean, think about that. The original, I think, because the original writer of Star Trek, putting, some of his remains in space, along with those of his wife and of Scotty, which, now that I say it that way, does sound a little bit weird, but, that's that would be a really cool thing.
Remember, they made a series in the 60s. The swinging 60s.
Yeah, so, but that would be cool, though.
It would be cool. Now that I said that, though, now I can't get an image out of my head of a threesome between Gene Roddenberry, the actor Scotty, and his wife. I
wasn't even thinking that until you said it, so thank you for putting that image in my head, and I will have think of one up there.
Oh, sweet Lord.
Oh, wait, I know the answer to this one. Instead of Tychus trying to shoot Kerrigan, how about that threesome happening?
Oh, God.
There you go.
Tychus would enjoy it.
It'd be Tychus, Raynor, and Kerrigan.
So would all the bugs inside of him.
Oh, no, wait. Even better. Tychus, Stetman, and Kerrigan.
Stetman would be used as a dildo by Tychus for Kerrigan.
I mean, but imagine that nasally ass voice, though.
I'd snap his neck off. Or I'd crush his, windpipe. No more speaking. Silence!
So now, just because he said that, I'm going to use this since he put that image in my head. Espeon has admitted he wants some of that Kerrigan ass.
No, I don't, but I think it'd be interesting to see, because they're Tychus, a Nurgle-infested space marine with a freaking insect hive inside of him, and spewing disgust and grossness.
Not Typhus, Tychus.
Tychus. Okay, yeah. I was thinking Typhus.
I was saying Tychus, Raynor.
They're close, okay, so I was thinking of the horror show of Typhus, and I thought that was what your angle was the horror show of a Nurgle-infested space marine like Typhus.
If I was going to do that, I would have said Lucius.
Okay, fair enough.
But even better, Raynor would look at Typhus and be like, wait a minute, which hole do I use?
Well, not the insect hive one. Put your dick in, pull it out, nothing there. Gone. Jorge says, "Silent wench! I don't want to be horny anymore. I just want to be happy." And yeah, that happens a lot. But no. Let's see. Yeah, I think I pretty much wrapped up my comparison. You did yours.
Yeah.
Right, so what was the next thing? I forgot.
Mortifactors.
Oh, we're already there.
Mortifactors, because we need to get off the topic of threesomes in sci-fi universe.
Especially since I pulled out the one with typhus and Kerrigan. Like, two disgusting ass individuals doing the deed.
But here's the thing, though. Here's the good thing.
Well, we already know.
All those claws she has coming out of her back, she could feel her claws as he's feeling her.
I have weird friends.
I almost fell out of my chair.
Breathe, damn it. Alright. Let's talk about the mortifactors.
So I do want to talk about one thing.
Oh god.
That everyone claims that mortifactors are ultramarines. Nah, they're Death Guard. It was funny to me, Carneth Corn.
That wasn't that funny.
Yeah, it was funny to me, mostly because of the image. Because I'm a sick fucker. Okay. But yeah, so I really do believe mortifactors are Death Guard.
Like, legitimately? Like, lore-wise?
I can legit see that. Now, lore-wise, it says that they're a second founding Ultramarines chapter. They're covered in fucking black and bone, and they use power size, which only one legion was known to use in any kind of numbers, and that was the Death Guard.
The thing is that's such a small connection, though.
They have the obsession with death and cannibalism.
True. That's a better point than that one.
And their main weapon is one that was only used in any kind of relevant numbers by one legion. Because no other legion really used power size. Raven Guard didn't.
By the way, we should have done this when we started this, because we're already kind of talking about the mortifactors in general. I should say this for anybody who's unaware of who the mortifactors are. They are, officially speaking, from what GW has told us in the lore. The mortifactors are a second founding Ultramarine. They're a second founding Ultramarine faction, technically speaking. A successor chapter of the Ultramarines in the second founding. I know, I'm kind of repeating myself. I'm trying to word it correctly. And they are known in the community as being the cannibals. They're the least Ultramarine successors of Ultramarines ever. Like, it's hard for me to believe that they're successors, because what about the Ultramarine society survived in the society of... survived the society of the fucking chapter of mortifactors, because they don't wear the same fucking colors at all. Like, they're like gray, green, and white. Well, actually, it's more black, isn't it? It's like a dark gray, black, like black, white, bone white, and like green trim, right?
So let me fuck you up a little bit more. Their second founding, which means when the Codex Astartes was first written during that split up. And they were a spiritual chapter. They were one of the ones that believed in the Lectitio Divinitatis, that the Emperor was the God. They didn't believe in necessarily the God Emperor, but they believed in the Golden Warrior on his throne back on Terra.
Because that's different from religiousness.
Pretty much. They believed in the God Emperor just under a different name. So... there were only a handful of second founding chapters. I don't even believe the Black Templar were fully that spiritual yet.
Not at that point. Not initially. Yeah. It started definitely. I think the religious aspect for the Black Templars, at least as I recall reading through their lore, it really started ramping the fuck up. Quite a few years after they were first formulated. I'd say like the major ramp up of their religion is after Sigismund passed, I would say, to Abaddon.
Oh man, here's another good one, because this one.
Not to say they weren't getting religious up to that point. Sigismund's kind of side faith thing did affect them early on and did start to make them kind of lean that way. But I think what made them over the top was after Sigismund was gone.
Yeah. Also, here's another while we're kind of on the topic, and also with current events with Arch doing the Badab War, another Ultramarine successor, the Firehawks. Yeah, tell me they aren't fucking like World Eaters or some shit.
Hey, hold on, I might be thinking of the wrong one, but aren't they purple?
No, they're red and gold.
Okay, I am thinking of the wrong one. Firehawks. Yeah. Okay, now, wait, yeah, that's right. These are the guys who are on fire.
And they have the worst temper out of like all the loyal.
Now that I know who we're, they
like the difference between them and the Black Templar is the Black Templar's temper is religious based. The Firehawks' temper is just because they're dicks.
They're just psychopaths.
Yeah. Tell me they're not fucking world eaters. They're Ultramarine.
They take joy in killing people.
Yeah. Tell me they're Ultramarine.
I'm pretty sure this is a quote from them. We will kill them all, let the Emperor sort them out.
Yeah. I think that's
like I'm pretty sure that's a quote of the Firehawks. That pretty much sums up their belief system. Is they very much are just kill the fuck out of everything. We don't care. Like we're not going to spare anybody.
I have an interesting theory for you that I want to pose to you. And here's why I think you have Mortifactors and Firehawks as both Ultramarine descendants.
Because Ultramarines are actually the biggest fucking psychotic douchebags in the universe, and for some reason that's hidden.
No, and I'm going to logic this as in the Mortifactors are actually Death Guard, and that the Firehawks are actually World Eaters. But I'm going to logic this in a really weird way. So remember when the 2nd and 11th Legion were both eliminated, and somehow the Ultramarine Legion grew exponentially at that point? After the Horus Heresy, what if they found loyalist groups of the traitor legions and the Ultramarines just sucked them up like they did with the other legions?
And it wouldn't surprise me.
That's how you can justify it.
I mean, the thing is, that would make sense to a degree.
I want a book about that, because even though that's explaining the shit that you really don't want to explain to you, it would at least justify some of this stupid shit.
Some of it, yeah. And that would make a lot more sense, in my opinion, especially since, especially with Balisarius Call using Traitor Gene Seed and stuff, wanting to for the Primaris. Wouldn't that make more sense? Especially since he was working in secret for Guilliman, if Guilliman was the source. Like, specifically the Ultramarines had Traitor Gene Seed amongst them.
Well, as an example, the first Inquisitor was Nathaniel Garrow. To my knowledge, don't hold me to that, but I'm pretty sure that that's correct. And, oh, damn it, what was his name? Malcador the Sigillite came to him and made him the first Inquisitor. And he was a Death Guard, but there were 70 other Death Guard on that ship, on the Eisenstein, plus one Luna Wolf. So what happened to them? I mean, instead of following him around to become what would become the Knights Errant, which is essentially the father to the Grey Knights, who's to say, like, the Ultramarines didn't come, hey, you're loyal, you're strong, let's just suck you up. Hey, look, Mortifactors. Sums up the Death Guard. Maybe when they go to Istvan 3, not everyone is fucking dead. Maybe they do find some survivors. Here would actually be something that I hope.
Yeah, wouldn't that make the impact of Istvan 3 less severe if there were survivors?
No, and I'm going to tell you why. Because Nathaniel Garrow, one of his first missions, he went back to Istvan 3 and found the crazy ass Garviel Loken, who had survived the bombing of Istvan 3.
Right.
So,
and that opens the door for a lot more other survivors then.
Well, and here's one that I would like to see survive Istvan 3 over Garviel Loken would have been Saul Tarvitz. But I honestly don't think he did. But, like, it opens up that door that since he survived, and he's been surviving fighting off, like, plague zombies. Oh, yeah, he survived 2 bombings of Istvan 3. But if he survived, that opens the door that there were bunkers there that people could have survived in, and Astartes can live for a very long time on very minimal sustenance. So there were world eaters there. There were Emperor's Children there. There were Death Guard there. There were Luna Wolves there. You know, who's to say that there are chapters now that do remind us of, you know, the Luna Wolves, who have a tendency of, where's the command structure? We're going to fuck it up. There are those that remind us of the World Eaters, you know, for instance, the Firehawks. You know, we're going to kill them. Let the Emperor sort out what happens afterwards. You know, the Death Guard with the love of death and the power size. I think the Mortifactors are a really good one. And then the Emperor's Children. I mean, you don't have a bunch of chapters sucking each other off, but I mean, the Ultramarines do that anyway, so it's kind of hard to tell.
Well, the Ultramarines, that's what they do half the day.
By the way, I want to point out I did make a derogatory joke towards a Loyalist chapter and Legion, and it wasn't the Space Wolves.
And yeah, but everybody makes fun of the Ultras. Unless you're an Ultra fanboy.
Ugh.
Which there are less and less of every day, just saying. I mean, honestly, I Ultramarines suck. But I kind of like the idea that the Mortifactors are legitimately the sons of Guilliman, because to me, it just is confirmation that he's actually secretly a dickbag on the inside, and the Mortifactors are kind of like what happens if that's fully let out, with just a little bit of outside influence.
I mean, I think this is one where we're going to have to agree to disagree. I like the idea of them sucking up loyal factions of the traitor legions, because that shows what can happen when the traitor legions are done right. Firehawks withstanding, but like even before Angron was reunited with the World Eaters, they were brutal. They were brutal as hell, but they were honorable too. So it's one of the things where like it would be really cool, so you could see where the traitor legions could have gone right without that influence from Lorgar and his bitches. I give Lorgar a lot of the blame, but it's really Erebus and Corpheron who need all the blame.
And yeah,
fuck those two in particular.
Erebus is a cunt.
They corrupted Lorgar, and Lorgar and those two corrupted.
Yeah, but Lorgar didn't make it hard.
No, he didn't. But still, if we want to go to the original point of what started the fucking Horus Heresy, the starting point has to be with Corpheron and Erebus.
I'd say more so Erebus.
I can go with that. Fuck Erebus. Fuck Erebus in particular.
Yeah, that guy was a jackass. Nameless guy, Erebus and Corpheron did everything wrong. Did everything. Okay, I almost read that wrong.
No, actually, that's the fucked up part. They actually had a good plan, and they did everything right. It was Lorgar fucking everything up. He wrote the book.
And yeah, if we're talking about like from perspective, they did everything from their plan correctly. From our perspective and from the Imperium's perspective, they did fuck everything up. And they did everything wrong.
They actually did everything according to their plan, and it went according to plan until Lorgar became involved, and then he started fucking shit up.
And we were supposed to be talking about the Mortifactors, but we started talking about the Firehawks, and then we're talking about the world leaders and word bearers. Now we're talking about Lorgar and Erebus.
That was a weird rep. But it goes back to like where we were agreeing to disagree, where you like the idea of them being Ultramarines, whereas I like the idea of there being actually Traitor Legion successors, but they're called
I just find it fitting if they were the successors. Yeah. I'd find it fitting. What happens when you take away the bureaucrats' nice, cozy imperial palaces on Macragge and put them in a jungle, a tribal area with a bunch of fucking cannibals? Well, they become cannibals. It's like, yeah, it's just take away Guilliman's little walls. We'll see how fast he turns into a bigger savage than fucking Russ. Swear to God, I think Guilliman's such a jackass. Anyway,
he really is. But you know what? I will give him a little bit of credit. And when I say a little bit, I mean like a minuscule amount. At least he's not doing as bad of a job as some of his brothers would be. There are some that would do better. Sanguinius would do a much better job.
I think so. Sanguinius, but here's the ones I think that would do better. Sanguinius, Rogel Dorn. I'm including traitors on this, by the way, if they hadn't turned traitor.
Okay.
Sanguinius, Rogel Dorn. Let's see. I would probably put, obviously, Horus. Horus would have done better if he never went psycho. Let's see. Lehman Russ, I stand by. I think would do better. Yeah, it would be even more militaristic and over the top aggressive, but I stand by. Yeah, hiss all you want. Yes, psycho. I would say Ferris Manus would do better. Let's see.
I don't really agree with that.
Jagatai Khan. I'd say Jagatai Khan would do better.
Oh man, I love Jagatai Khan, and that's bullshit. Jagatai Khan wouldn't because he's so detached. Ferris Manus wouldn't.
Well, yeah, but it takes a level of detachment to run something.
No, but he was detached from everything. It's not a level of being detached. He was completely detached from everything. He didn't really give a shit one way or the other, except for I don't want the Emperor to fuck me up.
Yes, but at the same time, he always was required to be detached because the White Scars. Their point was to basically be the most further out, fastest scouts. Right, of the Great Crusade. So what if he was given the Yeah, but I think if he was put in the position to lead the Imperium, I think he would do well. Honestly, I think it's a matter of he needs the opportunity. That's personally.
If it came down to loyals or traitors that didn't fall, it would have to be, for me, Sanguinius, Dorn, Horus, Fulgrim.
Okay, well, just the last one I said I think would do better, because I only have one more I think it would do better than Gilliman, and that's Fulgrim. That was the last one I was going to... I think Fulgrim would do better. All of those ones I think would do better. Everybody honestly, I didn't mention I think would do worse.
Angron would definitely do worse.
I know, that's why I didn't mention him. Angron wasn't even... Angron, Perturabo... The thing is, Perturabo I think would be the worst leader of the Imperium, period.
I think Perturabo would be on par with Gilliman.
Really?
For actually exactly the same reason that you said for the Khan. And I think the Khan would be a worse leader because he's completely detached.
Yeah, but the major difference is Khan never was never vulnerable in regards to his emotional standing. His detachments protected him in that regard. Perturabo is a little crybaby. Like, the pressure of being a Primarch drove him mad. Can you imagine the pressure of being the fucking Emperor? The leader of the Imperium? The Imperium would fall apart in days.
Actually, the Nameless Scholar put up an interesting argument. If he didn't turn traitor, Conrad Kurz would do a better job policing the Imperium. I kind of agree with that.
I'd say Conrad Kurz could do a good job policing like those under the Imperium. But he would sabotage worlds. He would send correctional forces, things like that.
No, he wouldn't. He would fucking torture people. He would do the same shit.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. Like, the correctional forces I'm picturing are basically his own chapter of Marines, one or two of them to a world to take out a couple high figures and then slowly, carefully, and monotonously torture them in public.
There would be no chapters if Conrad Kurz was the one in charge.
No, there would not.
He would fucking kill Gilliman first.
He would kill Gilliman for recommending it.
Here's the book I wrote. Why did you stab me?
Sorry, did you say something? Peels off his
flesh. No. It's like, here's a book I wrote. Why did you stab me?
Well, the thing is, I think Gilliman was smart enough to know that wouldn't be a question. It's not a why, it's which reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 5 million. Ace hopped in, just read the last issue of the Calgary comic. Dear God, the cringe. Oh God.
At least when I do, or at least when I watch or play bad shit, I don't torture myself with outlandishly stupid shit.
I think Jorge's in denial. Purdy is a good boy. He would make a good and beautiful empire. Yeah, how many of his own men would he bury underneath said empire before he would finally be satisfied with it?
How many of everyone else's men would be included in that number?
It's like the maid fucking cleaning the statues in the Imperial Palace. There's a little bit of sprinkled dust. Other maids clean up all the blood and guts. The Imperium would have no survivors within a month.
Okay, Ace, I appreciate you inviting me, but I can promise you that even if I didn't have to be out of town for my pre-surgery appointment for when I have surgery next week, I would not.
The stream would be tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I have to go for my pre-surgery.
Okay, you're leaving tomorrow. Ah, okay.
Yeah, I go tomorrow to do my pre-surgery appointment where they do a COVID swab and all that shit, and then next week I actually go for my surgery. I promise you, even if I didn't have to do that, I don't want to be involved with that because I don't want anything to do with that fucking comic.
Well, no, it's a lot of fun to read though. It's fun to read in the sense that there's so much cringe. It's hilarious.
But also, look at it this way. They drove through a goddamn wall in a tank.
I know, I'm the one who fucking read it. I couldn't believe that. No. The thing is, the issue before that, they set it up like, oh, we abandoned our base, now the war begins. I'm like, okay, so did they pull a smart move? Did they leave traps? Did they leave vulnerabilities? Did they do something to make this a smart strategic move? Next issue, rides through a fucking wall with a tank, like, ah! So, in essence, no, you didn't sabotage the place. You didn't leave any massive vulnerability.
You just sabotaged the fuck out of that wall.
You just abandoned your defensible base of operations just to attack it yourself. And on top of that stupidity alone, which is already like just this level of stupidity that even a normal human being wouldn't think of, let alone a fucking space marine with hundreds of years of battle experience. But on top of that fucking bullshit, the fortress in question was the former home of the man whose name you stole when you became a space marine.
And you wonder why I want nothing to do with this.
And you spent 4 whole issues trying to sell to us how much you cared for him, and Marnus Calgary will become a space marine, and all this other shit. Just to not only make the dumbest strategic move I've ever read in anything, whether it's a comic, a graphic novel, a kid's book, or a fucking kid's book have smarter strategy than that.
Yep.
But on top of it, the context that it's your best friend's home, which you spent several issues of this fucking comic ranting at this poor admech about your past and your friend, just to attack it and destroy it yourself. Most retarded shit I have ever read. Ever.
Jorge and Carneth Corner talking about that that Perturabo was an obedient boy, he just needed a head pat. The best gift the Emperor could have given Perturabo, and he could have put it to good use, was a butt plug in the shape of a heart.
Nathan, thank you very much for the super chat. Thank you. Is the Calgary comic actually canon now?
I sure as fuck hope not.
I sadly believe it is canon. If it is canon, Marnus Calgary is now officially the dumbest commander ever. Hey, let's abandon this perfectly defensible position, unsabotaged, unbooby-trapped, just so we can siege it ourselves.
There was actually a traitor legion that did that. I can't remember who it was.
Right, traitor legions are idiots, though. I kind of expect that.
No, I'm actually looking it up, if it is canon or not.
He says, by the way, I heard a rumor that they are making a Calgary cartoon series. I won't watch it. I feel so bad for the idiots who have no knowledge of 40k watching it, who are also not aware of anything to do with battle strategy. Watch that. I can imagine that scene. Them just charging through a fucking wall. And all the sheeple who are like, yeah, you kind of guy, he's so badass. Everybody who's at all familiar with the fucking Imperial Fists. Hell, even the Iron Warriors. I'll give it to this. Even the Iron Warriors who are familiar with Siegecraft. Everyone just face fucking palming. This is the dumbest shit. Again, I can't get over that stupidity of that strategy. I will never let that go. That is the stupidest thing I have ever fucking read. Ever. Like, as a writer, whoever wrote that needs to grow one brain cell. Like, just once you write all that shit down, take a step back. Don't focus on the flashback bullshit you've been selling the reader of this comic the entire time. Just take a step back and just read the strategy here. Does it make sense to abandon a defensible position with walls, with probably a maze of different rooms and hallways and staircases, lots of positions where you could use them to funnel the enemy's numbers and possibly dice them to bits, on top of using traps, on top of using enclosed areas, and your familiarity with the building that assumedly the enemy does not have, there's so many reasons in the fucking book why you wouldn't abandon that position.
So I've seen two different arguments for the same fucking reason. So GW has not come out and said that they are canon. So there are people saying that since they haven't said it's canon, it's not. But there are other people saying that because it hasn't been claimed that they're canon or not, that they are until they're...
It's Schrodinger's canon.
Yeah, pretty much. And so one of the arguments is because that it was done in conjunction with GW, that's what makes it canon. We got way off fucking topic. I just want to say that too.
I blame Ace. Ace reminded me that that's the thing.
More to factors.
Yeah, more to factors. The cannibal sons of Gilliman. Actually, we spent so much time on that tangent. I guess we'll open up to Q&A. Q&A time. Question.
I'm so sorry. I started that tangent. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're the masters of tangents at this point. We'll start up the Q&A. Got about 15 minutes. Yeah. Give y'all 15 minutes. Ask any question you feel like asking, as long as it's not political or asking us like our bank account shit.
No.
Like,
it wouldn't matter. I don't have shit in my bank account right
Yeah, if I gave you the info, you'd give me money out of sympathy. It's like, oh, look at all those zeros and there's no one in front of it. There you go. Keep the change, you filthy animal. Anyway, yeah, go ahead and ask us questions, 40K related, personal related, anything like that. Go ahead.
Nathan said, no questions, but good luck with your surgery, man. Yeah, I'll be fine. It's just getting kidney stones fucking shot at with the laser. So I'm going sci-fi adventure. So it's really not a major surgery. They're telling me it should be 30 minutes in and out. And I'll be good to go back to work the next day because they're assholes. So.
Calculus says, is math related to science? Is science related to Deus Vult?
It depends on who you ask. The Black Templars would probably say yes.
The thing is, half the scientific stuff you learn, you also need to know a degree of math. So inherently, yes. As for is science related to Deus Vult? Also yes. But very minimally. What is your favorite brand of condom? Magnum?
Hefty.
Jorge, everything is related to Deus Vult. Everything. God wills it.
Really? You didn't even laugh at my joke?
Wait, what'd you say? Sorry, I missed it.
What is your favorite brand of condom? You said Magnum. I said Hefty.
Oh.
There it is. Essentially, yes, Carneth Corn. See, look, when I laugh, I cough until I die. When I make Aspagon laugh, he sneezes.
Oh, yeah, I think that was a random sneeze, too. Alright, LOL, Asgon for your Magnum Dong. Yep, all that Magnum. What kind of Titan would you like to see? As in, like, a miniature, artwork, like, can you narrow it down? Like, as in, like, what do you mean, like, would I like to see? What kind of Titan would I like to see?
Which ones, if it's like, which one would I like to pilot? I would probably go with an Imperator class Titan because I would never go to work again. So I'm pretty sure Imperator class Titans are bigger than the county I live in, or the city I live in at least, or well, not city, town.
I'd probably pilot a Warlord class. I don't need to pilot the biggest one. I just want to pilot a really
go big or go home.
I'd probably go for Warlord.
Again.
Glow in the dark condoms are the best. And yeah, that way you can play hide and seek and then like little ghost stories with with your man downstairs full mast. It's like, ooh, going to haunt your vagina.
What other universe do you think could have tabletop models?
I see, that's a sensible question.
That's better than what you're doing. StarCraft would actually be a cool one.
Who asked that?
Jorge. What other universe do you think could have tabletop models?
Oh, I would have said Lord of the Rings, but Lord of the Rings does have models. So, what should have other models? Well, I could see StarCraft creating a smaller version of 40K.
Probably a smaller version. You could just do it in a different way.
True.
Because the combat they do is different compared to 40K. I mean, as far as like game mechanics, yeah, they're the same, but the way they work in the lore is different.
Let's see. Actually, it'd be really fun to paint a StarCraft 2 miniature. Like, assemble and paint those. Like, can you imagine assembling and painting a siege tank?
Imagine fucking doing a battle cruiser, or even worse, like a bunch of Zerglings.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it wouldn't be too different from painting Gene Stealers, I guess, at that point, though. Like, the same vibe.
Okay, Jorge answered Titans, as in on the tabletop. What kind of Titans would you like to see next? Since War Masters recently came out.
Well, I think if the War Masters is the most recent one, the one I'm thinking of, I didn't even like the look of that one, so I kind of don't want them to make another one. If it's the one me and Xeris saw on one of their latest updates. Sorry, War Master Titan 40K. Just double check.
I want to see.
Yeah, it's the ugly one. I don't. I lore wise, I'm thinking the War Master is the biggest one. Wait, no, because there's also the Emperor class Titan, isn't there? Or
Emperor or Imperator, they're essentially interchangeable.
Yeah, that's the biggest one in the lore, next to the War Master. But I don't think they ever would put that on the tabletop, because can you imagine how that fucking big that thing would be?
You know what would be the best part? You know what I want to really see? In Imperator class Titan, that's essentially just legs and a big fucking cannon. Instead of like looking like a city with two arms that are cannons, just a cannon the size of the city.
Oh shit, dude. I gotta share this with you. I thought this was a guy in a costume. I'm wrong. This is holy fuck.
DM it to me.
Yeah, 1 second.
It's been a second. Oh, my wife was about ready to punch me last night.
I don't even know your kinks.
No. We were in Walmart and I did that. Holy shit.
Yeah, that's a mini. That's
I mean, that sounds about right.
What the fuck? Holy fuck, dude.
I love how he's flipping the camera, the bird, because that essentially is saying, like, okay, you've got like 2,000 points, and assuming that is just 2,000 points. All right, can you get past the armor? You fucking serious?
Hold on, let me see if we can pull up our other view for this. Oh yeah, shit, I forget. Hold on, I have to reorganize this view.
I knew you were the bottom.
Alright.
It was worth the joke. I don't care what you say.
No, it wasn't. Hold on. Alright, so I'm just kind of reorganizing this. Alright, so there we go. Move that aside. So that's what we're talking about. That's somebody's custom mini.
God damn it!
Oh fuck!
You got rid of me.
There you go. Fixed it. I fixed it. I fixed it. Did it. So yeah, that's what we're talking about. It's someone. I thought it was a guy in a costume when I first saw the image, but as I looked around, I'm like, no, that's it's not.
That's dedication.
I kind of want to make one of those now, but that would take so fucking long, especially if I want to make it look good.
The good news is painting the motherfucker probably wouldn't be that bad.
Yeah, just use spray paints. You just use like the masking tape to cover up the areas you didn't want to get a certain color. After that, you just gotta do like the little bits here and there. Whoops, sorry. Otherwise, you'd be golden. You'd be golden.
That's an actual Forge World model. Apparently.
This is an actual Forge World model? Kiss my ass.
That's what Nameless Scholar is saying.
Kiss my I don't believe you. I don't believe you. No way.
Jorge,
Send me the link in the Discord. Because if that is, holy fuck. Like, how much you'd have to save up for your whole life to get that shit. Because Forge World costs you $72 to get 10 Krieg Guardsmen. I can't imagine how much they charge for that motherfucker.
Jorge asks, as the 3D print boy evolve, do you think other universes will jump into the miniature market?
Actually, I think less would. Especially with people's own stuff. If you're talking about like fan made, like someone wanted to make some fan made StarCraft 2 models and sell those and then create their own mini game like off market, like officially. Obviously never like sell it as like a licensed box set thing kind of thing. Because Blizzard would go after their asses. But
okay, so the only ones that Forge World have are Reaver, Warlord, Warbringer Nemesis, and Warhound. That is not Forge World.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, the Forge Worlds ones I've seen can be like this big, but not like almost as big as a person big.
Reaver is $775. Warlord is $1,510. Warbringer Nemesis, which is kind of like what I was fucking talking about, is $1,260. And the Warhound is $525. Fuck that. Fuck that very thoroughly.
Yeah, Forge World, the expense would be fucking ridiculous. But as 3D printing evolves, I think if we're talking about officially licensed miniature stuff, you'll see less of it. Because once people have their own resin printers and their own custom knowledge of like how to clean resin, how to properly take care of resin models, and more artists get hired to like 3D model. Like I just got hired by a friend on the Discord to model a custom Praetorian Guard infantry unit, which I got to get to. But that once more stuff like that starts happening, we're gonna see a huge upswing in the market for that stuff. From like the fan made side of things, but from like official models from GW, from other companies like Blizzard producing their own tabletop StarCraft game, for example, we're going to see a lot less of those because the companies will now see it as pointless because their guaranteed profit will be pretty much next to none. Because they won't be able to sell the models, the sets, stuff like that. They could probably try and join, but because, again, if we're talking about 3D printing becoming mainstream, like people use it themselves, buy resin printers, stuff like that, why would you go to the official company that's going to upsell you plastic that you got to assemble and prime and paint yourself for like a fucking premium? Or are you just going to buy a resin printer, which is a lot of money at once? It's going to take a little time to learn how to use, but once you get it down, it's going to probably cost you... You're probably going to save thousands of dollars in the long run for the same number of minis, same type of minis as well.
And Nameless Scholar, yeah, put in the Warhammer 40k channel because I'm sitting here watching it right now.
So
I want to see this because I just went to the Forge World website. And as far like I think that one of two things is going to happen if 3D printer gets, like you said, where it's more mainstream and like everyone is essentially doing it. I think either A, that's going to just kill the miniature industry for GW and like Forge World.
I would say the official, like D&D.
It would kill the official stores. However, yeah, that's a Warlord Titan. That's not an Imperator class Titan. That's what I said. The one he showed was an Imperator class Titan. That's not the same thing.
Yeah, that's a different model altogether.
Yeah.
And I don't know the dimensions of the one I shared, the image I shared. But if your argument is it's the same size, I have no idea. I don't know what the measurements are in this thing as comparison to the other one. But that's not what I'm talking about. The model that I showed was a custom make by somebody.
Let's
see.
I don't see dimensions for it. I don't think it would be 4 feet fucking tall.
Coda says, I love the new graphics. Wait, what is he talking
about? The new graphics for the podcast. He hasn't been around in a while.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I animated those a while back. You're the only one to mention it. Add a little effect of pizzazz to the view.
But so I think, as I was saying, I think either that will kill the official stores, or they'll have to learn to finally listen to people and give people what they want and make it cheaper, and also make it to where they
at that point, I would say that they would have to switch their main market from selling the minis to selling the lore and selling the rules and selling the books and selling the codexes. Selling the minis would I'd say, lower the prices to the point where buying a resin printer and a 3D printer and buying all the necessary things that people would need to take care of brand new resin printers and resin prints, and basically just make it so the alternative is cheaper, easier, and faster. And yes, maybe in the long run it's more expensive, but not in the short term long run. Because if you buy a resin printer right now, you can buy a decent one at $200. And the necessary stuff, let's just add $100 to that, just to be all the secondary necessary stuff, like the resin itself and like a UV treater. So let's just add $100 to be fair. $300 right there. And then once you have that filament, you use that. By the time you run out of that, you'll probably have printed off 80 to 100 minis, give or take. So how much would those, let's say those Space Marines, let's say you print off a copy of an intercessor model, just 100 of those. Factor how much it would cost you. $60 for this is what GW charges in the US for an intercessor mini. $60 for 10 that you have to assemble. When in a resin printer, it could print off the mini from the ground up without having to assemble it. Or you can also get prints that are in separate pieces, but that's only if you want to.
And let's even lowball that to say it'll only be able to print out 50 intercessor models, whatever the fuck they're called.
60 times 5.
Oh, so it'd be $5 for each little bit of resin to make it?
No, that's what GW's what's what GW charges.
Oh, no. Okay. So, no, how much would the resin be to make 50 of the motherfuckers?
Let's see. Water-based resin, which is what I would probably get. Water-based resin. Let me go on Amazon, because that's where most people would probably get it. Water-based resin.
Right now, you're already tied at 300 and 300, just getting the...
All right, so for example, a Lego, not Lego, a Lego, like ELEGOO. It's a water-based resin, which is a little bit more pricey, but the upside is you don't have to do all the same steps with water-based resin, and it's easier to clean as opposed to like pure resin. Like resin's a bit more regular resin's a bit more of a nightmare. So just with a little bit more money, you get to skip a few steps with this stuff. Let's see. I'm trying to see what the measurement is. 450 nm LCD. I don't think that's a measurement of how much it is. Trying to figure out how much is in this container.
And all it is a rough estimate on how many it could print out.
My guess is one of these could probably print out. Depends on like if you're doing imperial, like the size of the mini would affect how much of this you'd use. So,
well, no, I'm talking about the exact intercessors that you were talking about.
All right. This would probably print off this container. I would assume, not having my own resin printer and just getting secondhand information from someone like Ball, this would probably print off about 70.
70? And how much is that?
This is $41 or $42.
41?
It's $41.99, so $42.
So realistically, to be able to do it yourself and get 20 more, approximately, Space Marines out of it, you're paying like $40 more. And you're getting 20 more Space Marines, and that would end up making it like $340, $350, and that's buying the printer, the upkeep resources, and the resin itself.
Oh no, I wasn't factoring in the resin when I said $300.
Oh, you were factoring it in?
Yeah. That's
okay. So
because you could buy a resin printer for $210, decent one.
Mm-hmm.
You could buy the resin for $40-$50, and then you can use UV treaters. Like you can, which you don't even need to get. You can, if you live in a sunnier area, you can just leave them out in the sun, quite literally, to naturally UV treat. So, but even then, if you buy like the little UV treater thing, some of those are like $50, some of those are like $30. It depends on the type you get. But roughing out, it'd be another $100 on top of the $200 printer, $300.
Okay, and that gets out 70 compared to the 420 for getting 70 through GW. So you're saving $120.
And keep in mind, you don't have to buy another resin printer as long as you maintain the one. So in the long run, you'll only have to buy more resin and just have to clean your resin printer on a regular occasion if you print enough.
Right.
So in the long run, though you have to spend a lot of money up front, in the long run, you're going to be saving. If you're a major fan like myself who buys a lot of minis from time to time, you're probably saving thousands of dollars. You'd probably be saving thousands of dollars.
I would hate to see what it would take to 3D print a fucking Imperator class Titan.
We'd probably print more like the pieces separately.
Oh no, it still would, but I'd still hate to see what it would take to fucking do it.
It would take a lot of time and a lot of different prints, and probably a lot of resin. Especially if you're doing like like scale one. Yeah,
like the I'm talking like doing one like the picture you put up. Like I would hate to see what that bitch would take.
A lot.
And that's also not just talking about just the time to do it. Imagine assembling the motherfucker.
Since it's resin, you'd have to use a lot of super glue.
Oh yeah.
Get a fire hose and super glue. All right, just start sticking stuff on now.
Yeah, pretty much.
Jorge, it would be nice if for GW to release some kind of STL files of old models they don't sell anymore. Well, the thing is, they don't. The reason they can't do that, they could, but it wouldn't be a new model. It wouldn't be what you're thinking, like the old original model. Like they could make a new model based on those, but they don't use STLs to print their models. They use the sprue system and an older school style form of. They use what's called mold printing, which means they have a predetermined mold of what their minis look like. And then basically they put that mold in the 3D printer, and the 3D printer scans that mold, and then it creates the sprues based off that mold that they've already created. With the mold, I don't know what it's made out of. It might be made out of plastic, might be made out of rubber, might be a clay mold. I don't know what it is, but they use a predetermined artistic mold of something. The computer will scan that, break it down into its bits, like slice it up digitally, and then create the sprues that are necessary to assemble it. And then they just print those out on an assembly line. There's no STL file to work with. Additionally, the type of printer they use is a plastic printer. They're printing out plastic minis. And that kind of printer, you can get a layer printer, which is plastic, but it's a different process altogether. And quality-wise, you're looking at really shitty quality if you're using a layer printer. That's the closest you can get to that type of plastic, though, that they use. Otherwise, you would need what they use, which is this big industrial printer, which literally has an assembly line connected to it.
Yeah.
So, to get the same exact quality and type of mini that they have, you would need an industrial-sized printer with the exact same specifications. Otherwise, if you're getting resin-printed models and for STL files, which is what the community, like the 3D printing side of the community uses. Those are made by artists on their own time. Either they base them on existing GW models or they create their own designs with more detail. And the STL files, then, you can buy them, or sometimes, like in my case, like if a friend asked, I would just make the model and give them the STL. So, right. That's one way you would get it. And once you have the STL file, if you have a resin printer, you would just upload the file to the printer, and the printer would get underway once you have all the settings set up. Yeah, Ball already has printed a bunch of. Yeah, I know. He showed, and they're quality-wise, if it weren't for the bases, I wouldn't have known they were not GW minis, to be fair. They basically look the same. GW could transition into a model printer store. You make the digital model, they print. If it does well, gets added into the main range. Well, again, that's with the assumption that they would still be able to sell their minis as their own product, which they wouldn't. Again, if we're talking with your initial concept of what if 3D printing becomes mainstream, what point would there be to go into the store, design a model like Build-A-Bear, and have them print one off for you? Would they probably charge you a shit ton to do that? And then if they like your model, they could take your model and sell it, and probably for a premium. There would be no profit to that because at that point, it's mainstream to have your own resin printer and print off as many of the same mini as you want to fill out your army.
Yeah.
So again, if what you posed before became the mainstream, if 3D resin printing became the mainstream, GW would die.
And Asmagon just found the only way for me to get into the miniatures. If I had my own 3D printer, then I might do it. But that would also require me to learn how to use it and get the resin and all that shit.
What upcoming game are you... I will make this the last question because I think we've been going over a little bit. What upcoming game are you excited for? I kind of answered this last 2 podcasts. We've been kind of asked the same question. I'm not really looking forward to any upcoming games. I'm interested in Darktide. I'm interested in playing the Dakajet game, though I'm not in a rush to buy it. As you know, as for any major upcoming games in air quotes, there's really nothing. And I don't see any new games coming out that are worth the money.
I'm not excited for this one per se, but I am curious about it because WoW has finally done something smart, or at least something that I've been saying they should do for years. And that is, so you know they have the WoW Classic servers, right?
Yeah.
They're making it where you can choose your path. You can either stay level 60 in WoW Classic, or you can do Burning Crusade Classic. And that will be Burning Crusade as it was.
Yeah, I heard about that announcement. Wasn't sure if it was a rumor, though.
No, they officially announced that.
And they're just servers, right? They're not like eliminating the classic servers to then.
No. They're adding them to the classic servers, so you have your classic servers and classic Burning Crusade servers.
It'd be interesting to storm the portal again.
Well, no, think about it this way. Imagine they do that with all of the expansions.
Well,
if you liked only playing Wrath, you can't bitch now about not being able to play Wrath the way when it was. Now you have that option.
I would be up for that. The only thing is, I think there is at a point where it wouldn't... Like, I think they should, if they were to, they should stop pre-Cataclysm. Because the game we currently still play in live WoW is still, technically speaking, Cataclysm-based and plus all the expansions.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it wouldn't make a lot of sense to make a Cataclysm server, because we technically have that already. It's the main servers.
I would stop at Pandaria.
I mean...
And the only reason is because with Draenor, that's when it started really becoming what it is now. I agree with you. Cataclysm was the first major turn. But Draenor is when they just really just got on this road. Like, we're not getting the fuck off this bitch! I do think the Mist would actually be probably the best place to stop. If they do Burning Crusade, Wrath, Kata, and Mist.
Personally, I'd just stop at Wrath.
No, I mean, Mist had some funny PvP. No, the only thing funny about Mist was that the only thing about it that was actually decent was the artwork. That's the funny thing about Mist. And I'm generally a person that hates artwork, and I make that comment. I don't really hate it. I'm just... Well, it's not that I hate it. It's just I'm usually not interested in it in video games. But, like, out of all the expansions, I think all the expansions in WoW, the one with the best artwork was Mist of Pandaria. The only problem is it was so bright and vibrant compared to all the other shit that actually here's a funny quick story that we can end on. My parents, when I was younger, had a 72-inch TV in the living room. I decided to hook, and it was a 3D TV too. This is where this is going to get funny. My main has always been an orc, so I get up, I get up and plug the TV into my computer, and turn it on 3D settings and put the 3D glasses on.
Have a good one, Jorge. Thank you for joining us, man.
Yeah, see ya, Jorge. The flying mounts between flying paths were these big ass red kite, and the background is this vibrant green and blue. So I put on the 3D glasses, and all that goes by is like this green, blue, red, green blur, and I ended up actually making myself so overexposed to vision that I made myself physically ill. It's one of the things when you sit there and just get so much exposure to different colors and sensations that you're like, I'm going to go be sick now. Bye.
Yeah, I can't relate to that one. I haven't done anything like that.
It was worth it to be able to say that I did it, but at the same time, it was not worth it in the sense of it actually did make me sick.
Until I made this computer, I played on my family's old computer, which had a box screen, like the old
Oh yeah.
The one where you'd click it on, you'd hear the fuzz like. Put your hand on it for long enough, you'll have built up enough static to shock your sister. Just hold it there, wait for her to sit down near something metal. Ah! Oh, that was hilarious. But yeah, we had those old school monitors. I had that same old ass monitor for like through Wrath. So I think then my dad got a new monitor finally mid-Cata. That was the first time we had like a more flat screen. Like for me, I was like, what is this technology? It turns on and there's no fuzz. I was actually kind of mad at first because I couldn't shock my sister anymore. It's like, no, my weapon is gone.
It took away my fun.
No, but it was weird playing on that screen when I was like, wow, this game looks so... Like, I literally thought WoW looked like a different game. Just for a screen being bigger. It's like...
Oh, yeah.
Dude. It's like the future, man.
Oh,
God.
My contacts are wanting to be all fucky-wucky.
Carly Cross says, Ludus just wants to be a panda. What?
Actually, no. I really don't like the pandas as a race, but I did like the artwork in Pandaria.
Although I thought the artwork and some of the music was actually pretty good.
I do think, though, I think actually the one with the best soundtrack was Burning Crusade. But one of the... I do think that one of the funniest things... about the pandas is when their racial abilities is called bouncy, and they take less falling damage. And I don't know why I find that funny, because it's essentially saying they're so fat that they bounce and take less falling damage.
Well, I think what they're trying to say by that is like, oh, they're martial artists, so they can do like the superhero landing.
No, that's not what they do at all.
No, I like to think that. Grim just asked, Asgon, how would you feel about a Warhammer 40k and a Mass Effect or StarCraft 2 crossover? Well, in any case where 40k were to do a crossover with another franchise, they would have to go there. Like, you can't send anybody from StarCraft 2 to 40k and have them live. It just wouldn't happen. It would not happen. Hands fucking down.
And the question is which universe do you want to see burn first?
Yeah, like if you sent like in a Astartes, for example, to StarCraft universe, that'd be hilarious to watch.
And Mass Effect is just essentially our own universe in the future, so yeah, it would be fun watching Astartes burn that down.
That would be interesting.
What? You mate with the blue alien women? Burn!
Burn in holy fire. Oh, by the way, work on the Vox radio show episode 1 is underway. There's a couple things I want to try. which might cause the thing is I really want to take the radio show one serious. Not that I haven't taken any of my other series on my channel seriously. It's just this one. I guess when I say I take it seriously, I mean I'm putting a lot more time and effort into it. I'll say this, but if you don't see it, nobody at me or some shit. I'm gonna try and do some 2D anime, short ones, brief ones in certain parts of the episodes. They might look out of place because I can't guarantee that I can keep the art style real consistent with 2D animations and stuff in it. I'm gonna try and include those in the series, but no promises. And no promises they're gonna be the whole thing is 2D animated. That'll take a lot longer by myself than I want to drag out each episode in terms of development time. I want to, at the very least, get an episode of those out every 2 weeks to week and a half. So, minimal amount of having to do animation, the better. But if you don't see any on the first episode, just know that the experiment or the attempt at it didn't work, or it just didn't fit. So, no one at me for that. But I'm taking that seriously. The first episode will not have any guests on, unfortunately. Episode 2, I haven't started writing that one, but that might be the first one I attempt. I have to first get a guaranteed guest on to make that work. And the guest will be... at this point, I've decided that there will be episodes where I just pose a question, and if someone like Arch were to come on, I would just have them in their own words respond to it. With maybe an element of it scripted. Maybe after they've given their spiel about something, I could give them comedic to say at the end to then segue back to the radio show. Right. In other cases where it's more they're an actual direct character, and it's more like someone's voicing a character, I'll script it properly. Ludus, I did kind of he's in the lineup of someone I'm going to ask to be a character.
Mine would be under the, you might as well script it because it is a character.
So I that's something that's working on. This first episode, though, just to simplify things as I'm working on it, is just to keep I'm just gonna do that one, just me and the characters. Second episode will be the first attempt with a guest. It'll probably be Ludus if Ludus is available and willing. And with a new mic that helps. So
yeah. And not so shitty mic.
Yeah, otherwise, everything is all hunky-dory. I hope everyone enjoyed today's podcast episode. Big thanks to Nathan for his super generosity, as always. And, yeah. Got anything else you want to say last second? Or?
Not that I can think of. Just, yeah. I mean, I had a lot of fun. I hope people had as much fun as me. I'm glad that my new equipment is making everything better now. Last thing I have to replace is the stupid camera, but that's something I can kind of wait.
Grim says, have you told Ludus about the weather orc?
I have seen the weather orc.
Yeah, that was a meme when I was drawing the artwork for the episode, so...
I saw that. That was funny.
It was funny. Well, anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. Assuming that the same cunt who reported the previous episode doesn't try and pull his shit again. Hopefully you guys enjoy. Those who are hopping in last minute or didn't get to watch the whole thing will have the opportunity to watch it. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
See ya.